This is where MAGA comes to talk. Here we go. Seconds away, we'll be live. I'm at the radio station today, obviously.
On the air since 1977. It's the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig.
All right, welcome one and all. My name's Brian. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, the Steve Kane Show. On the radio since 1977, celebrating 48, soon to be 49 years on the radio. Welcome one and all. We got a lot to cover. And does it not seem like Monday to most of you guys? It seems like Monday to me. I know it's Tuesday because yesterday was a holiday, Memorial Day, but we are back. We got a lot to cover. We're going to cover quite a bit and take your calls at 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call no matter where you are listening. Okay, so there's a lot going on in the world right now that could lead us into the Third World War. And I don't get into this stuff, casually. And a lot of people, they like to say, "Well, war," and light up the phones and get people all excited and in a panic mode. I'm not doing that. But there's certainly some big problems going on. And we're going to talk about a bunch of them today, and it involves the Russian-Ukraine war. It is now a fact. I mean, we've known a little bit, but with Jake Tapper's bizarre timing of his reporting, we're finding out that Joe Biden, drug addict Hunter Biden, and senior staffers of Biden were running the presidency, and Obama behind the scenes the last 4 years, and they got this war going on between Ukraine and Russia for profit because they're all crooks. And over the weekend, a lot of things have happened that very well could result in a major escalation of this war, which could escalate it into a world war. And, I know a lot of people will say, "Well, I've been saying that forever." Well, aren't you just so smart? No. Some things have happened. And this slap of Macron by his wife, believe it or not, is a factor in what could cause the Third World War. What I've learned as I've grown older is that the wars start not for the reasons they tell you in the history books. They start mostly because you have public officials like Joe Biden who will kill soldiers of their own country just for profit, right? The military-industrial complex. I mean, the people that shot Trump and Butler killed President Kennedy in Dallas so that they could escalate the war in Vietnam. Okay? I mean, that's a fact. Bobby Kennedy talks about this a lot. Bush and Cheney lied about weapons of mass destruction so that they could justify an invasion of Iraq, and that war went on for years and years and years. And a lot of people made a lot of money doing it. And Bush is a real sicko. He's not just a war criminal. He does this thing. He likes to go jogging with veterans that are missing limbs. And they're missing limbs because he lied about weapons of mass destruction. He's a psycho, George W. Bush. And, the list goes on. But I listed enough there to show you what's going on. Most of these wars begin because of slighted egos and war profiteers. And this Russian-Ukraine war, we're like this close to the Third World War breaking out. And out of everyone involved, the only one that does not want a war to break out is Donald Trump. And, you've got Putin, who doesn't want the war to end. You've got Zelensky and his henchmen behind him. They don't want the war to end. You've got the Democrats in this country who don't want the war to end. The never-Trumper, Rhino Republican, Bush Republicans don't want the war to end. And, of course, the military-industrial complex want a major escalation of the war, okay? President Trump's the only one who wants peace. And I'm going to go through some of this as the show goes on. But I want to ask you guys a few questions first, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on the phones. If you're on hold, hang in there. We'll go to the phone shortly. But I'd like to hear your answer to some of the questions I'm going to ask on the phones at 1-888-465-2631. Now, there were two incidents in the news over the weekend, the most that could result in a major escalation in the Third World War. The second is the slap of Macron by his wife, and I'll tell you what I mean by that in just a little bit. But this assassination attempt over the weekend by Putin, or on Putin, I should say, right? The story came out over the weekend that Ukraine launched a massive drone strike against the helicopter that was carrying Putin in an assassination attempt, and his helicopter pilot and whatever defenses they have were able to defeat all the drones. And there were over 100 of them in some reports. Some reports say a couple of dozen, 3 dozen, 4 dozen. Some say over 100. So I got a couple of questions now about this. One, do you think the assassination attempt was true? Yes or no? I think it's a 50% chance that the assassination attempt was true. It could just be Putin making up a story to justify an escalation against Ukraine, which he's been doing. But do you think that there really truly was an assassination attempt on Putin in the helicopter? It's 50-50, but I would lean towards no. But, you may have a differing viewpoint. But if there was an assassination attempt, who do you think did it? Now, here's the possible suspects. Ukraine, that's, if there was an assassination attempt on Putin, again, we don't know for sure. You can't believe anything the Russians say. You can't believe anything the Ukrainians say. They're both the same people. They're liars and propagandists, and they never tell the truth, the Russians or the Ukrainians. But, if there was an assassination attempt, who did it? And here's the suspects that I can think of. Maybe there's some others, but that you could think of. But out of my list of suspects, who do you think did it? If there was an assassination attempt on Putin. First suspect is Ukraine. The most obvious. But I think the least likely. And I'll tell you why in a moment. So the first suspect in an assassination attempt on Putin, if it happened, Ukraine. The second suspect would be forces inside Russia attempting a coup against Putin. And the third suspect would be the United States. So, do you have any other? And by the way, the United States could be two things: by the order of the president or the deep state going rogue. Okay? So, who do you think, if there was an assassination? First, I'd like to know if you think there was an assassination attempt, or is this just Putin making up some propaganda for an excuse to escalate the war? And if there was, who do you think out of my list of suspects is behind it? I think Ukraine is the least likely in this drone attack to assassinate Putin. And the reason is pretty simple. The United States has a policy, and there's a law. It is illegal and against U.S. policy to assassinate a foreign head of state. And the reason that is like when we dropped the 2 nuclear bombs on Japan, we didn't bomb Tokyo. We bombed 2 cities that nobody had really probably ever heard of outside of Japan for the most part. And the reason that is if you take out the leaders, you've got no one to negotiate with. They're all dead, right? And plus, we don't want people to do that to our leaders. And if Ukraine was behind an assassination attempt, Trump would know, and he'd be ticked off beyond belief for a number of reasons. One, if Ukraine did attempt to assassinate Putin with drones, as has been reported through Russia, they would have to do it with U.S. equipment, either U.S. drones or U.S. radar, U.S. equipment they would have to use to do it, and that would tick Trump off. And it would also infuriate Trump that Zelensky did something so stupid that would justify Putin escalating the war that could get out of control. So I think out of the suspects, if the assassination happened, that Ukraine is the least likely because of that. Now, there's a bunch more to talk about with this, and I'm going to continue, and I will take your calls on this. But we're in a really dangerous situation right now, courtesy of Obama, Jill Biden, that junkie Hunter Biden, and those staffers like Anita Dunn that have been running the country the last 4 years. They got us into this. And a lot of people are dead because of these lunatics, okay? And well, let me take the break so we can start the first live show of the week by being on time with our breaks. My name is Brian Craig. You're listening to The Steve Kane Show. We'll be right back.
Don't sit on the sidelines. Get in on the action. Call the Steve Kane Show live on air now. 888-GO-KANE-1. This is the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig.
Hey, it's Scott on the radio reminding you that your favorite oldies are back on the air right after 10 a.m. this morning, right here on the True Oldies channel.
If you have sciatica, you have bursitis, you have tendonitis, you're tired of taking the pills, the drugs, the injections, and you heard that you have to live with it, well, there's a lot of times you don't have to live with it. I've had great success with helping people. My testimonials are marvelous with patients. They love the treatment. There's no injections, there's no medication, there's no surgery, there's none of that. It's strictly either the laser, the acupuncture I do, or shockwave therapy I do, open 6 days a week. Come in for the free consultation and be willing to look at you and help you.
Take advantage of that no-charge consultation with Dr. Appleton. Remember, appointments are not necessary and walk-ins are welcome even on Saturdays. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonCairo.com.
This is Mark Laporta, son of Tom Laporta and proud second-generation owner of Laporta Roofing. As a military veteran who served in the Army after 9/11, I brought the same dedication and discipline to our family business. At Laporta Roofing, we've been serving our community for nearly 4 decades, and we're committed to continuing that legacy of excellence. Our team specializes in all types of roofing systems, from shingles to tile, slate, metal, and flat roofs. We're the go-to experts for single-family homes, HOA communities, and condo associations. What sets us apart is our unwavering commitment to customer satisfaction. I've personally implemented systems to ensure you receive the best in customer service and workmanship. Don't miss out on our limited time offer for a free roof inspection. Call us now at 954-604-4602 or visit us at laportaroofing.com. Trust the experts who have been protecting homes like yours for generations. Again, that number is 954-604-4602.
This is Steve Kane. I want to tell you about my favorite restaurant in all of South Florida, Wings Plus in Coral Springs. Wings just the way you like them. Plump, tender, and delicious, crispy on the outside, succulent on the inside. Everything homemade, nothing comes out of a can.
If you're new, make sure you subscribe, guys. If you're on hold, hang in there.
Wings Plus, located in Coral Springs, a mile west of University on the south side of Sample Road.
Now back to the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig. Listen in the Palm Beaches on 95.9 FM, the Treasure Coast on 106.9 FM, hear us in Boca on 95.3 FM, Fort Lauderdale on 96.9 FM, and anywhere in the world at True Oldies FLA.
Alrighty, and I want to add on to the message from Tom Laporta from Laporta Roofing. You heard his son there. Tom Laporta covers both the east and west coast of Florida and everywhere in between, but he also does emergency repairs. A lot of times, some heavy rains have been coming down, right? You're finding out you got leaks you didn't know about. Tom Laporta does emergency repairs and will secure your roof from those leaks while you're awaiting a new roof if you need it or the final repair. Give him a call. And, you know, it's hurricane rainy season. I like hurricane rainy season. I do. Not for hurricanes, but I like the rains because it cools things off on these hot summer days. But, you know, all of my landscaping needs it. Give him a call, and if you don't need his help right now, write the number down and put it on your refrigerator. This is Tom Laporta's cell phone number, 954-604-4602. It was raining like mad over the weekend, yesterday morning in particular. So if you got a wet spot on your ceiling, you got a leak in your roof, call Tom Laporta. You can also text 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. All right, we're going to go to the phones. We're talking about World War III is about to happen. It could happen hopefully it won't. But we could get a news break at any moment, today, tomorrow, next week, next month, that World War III's begun. This is how these things happen. We'll talk more about that, but let's take some of your calls first. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
George, Fort Lauderdale. I wanted to tell you you're not coming through on 96.9.
All right. All right. We'll look into it. All right. I appreciate the call. All right. This is the only radio station in the United States where the listeners do that because they're so loyal. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Hey, Richie.
All right, this is Rick. Yeah, listen, I'm going to say it's all speculation, but I want to tell you how I feel about this.
Well, everything's speculation. I mean, we can only use the information we have. If we talked about everything we knew, we'd be talking about things from 20 years ago.
Okay, getting to the, I'm going to say the way I feel. Okay, I saw Zelensky in the White House with President Trump, and Trump dressed him down and basically blamed Zelensky for the whole thing, not wanting peace. And I really felt that he was justified doing that. And the reason Zelensky said you can't trust Putin, and President Trump, I think, judgment here, because he's been duped by Putin, because he thought he could trust Putin, and he thought he knew Putin. And Putin is really, it turned out that Zelensky's right, you can't trust Putin. There's no way. He actually... You can't trust
any of these guys. And I would, and slow down, Richie. I'm here till 9, okay? And I'm here all week. Every week. I think people are wrong when they say Trump was trusting Putin or thought Putin was a nice guy. What he was doing was buttering him up to hopefully get a summit meeting and negotiations going.
Make him look like now.
Well, to people like you that are always looking to criticize, who want to say something. No, that listen, Richie, when you're in business and you're negotiating with someone, you don't go around and say, they're a liar, you can't trust them, they're this, they're that, they're evil. Oh, by the way, can we meet on Saturday and work out a deal? You suck up to them a little bit.
I got it, but you're not talking about putting a hotel up somewhere. You're talking about a crazy man that actually, see, the point was I never thought that Putin was really trying to expand. And at this point, when I see where he sees he can't lose this war, Putin can't lose this war, I see him trying to expand, and you might disagree. I think President Trump is...
Well, no, I said all along. What's going on here is... By the way, Richie, thanks for the call. What's going on here with Putin, this is I've said this from day one with Ukraine, okay? This is a civil war. I know, they've been independent since 91. Well, or whatever year it was. The Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union, and Putin views Ukraine as part of Russia. So it's a civil war, and, Richie worked for the government his whole life, so he just drove, and then the check comes, then he drive again. Oh, you can't, somebody's rude. Oh, screw you, I work for the government. What are you going to... He doesn't understand. When you're trying to negotiate with someone, and let me tell you something, I mean, I have had to, in the course of my life, I have worked with people that are monsters as my boss. I'm talking about sadistic, psychopathic monsters. Haven't any of you? Luckily, I don't have to deal with that now. But I have worked with insane, sadistic lunatics. And they're like my boss. Have you? I'm sure some of you have. So what do? You're crazy! You're a monster! Oh, can I get a raise? When you're dealing with people and you don't work for the government, You gotta play the game, and that's all that. One day I'll tell you who some of those sadistic monsters was. No, it's not Steve Kane. Don't know. No. And I'm not going to take calls of people guessing. But there's one person in particular. I worked with a lot. I've worked four, not with, four. I mean, people one step away from serial killer type crazy, okay? One in particular. One day I'll tell all. I'll write a book one day. Trump never trusted Putin. Trump knew he was a nutbag the whole time. And I've heard Trump talk about this. People would ask him, well, Putin did this. And he's like, well, should I go around and call him a crazy person and then try to negotiate with him? So when President Trump got off, the plane was on the tarmac the other day when he was wearing the white MAGA hat. You know, he said he's lost his mind, Putin. He's crazy. And for Trump to say that means it's hopeless. There's nothing that can be said or done to bring him to the table. So, like I said, you look, you know, at the cause of wars. Wars typically, including the world wars, they typically do not happen for the reasons that are stated in the history books that you learn about in school or the History Channel documentaries. Most of them start by a bunch of egomaniac, warmongering rich guys who are not going to go and fight in the war, who are doing it either for power or money, right? Vietnam's an example of that, military-industrial complex. And I'll tell you, I am 100% convinced that FDR knew about Pearl Harbor before the attack, that he wanted us into the war. You know, I'm not going to get sidetracked into that, but he did. Bush and Cheney lied about weapons of mass destruction to get the Iraq war going. Okay, that was a war for profit. You know, sometimes they start out of egos, like World War I started out of egos, right? And here's the problem that we have going on right now, and it's on how this could escalate. This slap of Macron by his lunatic wife. He should resign. You know, he really should. He's an abused man. He's been abused by his wife since he was a child. I don't care what the age of consent is in France, okay? He's been abused by his wife his entire life, and she slapped him around. France is one of the top leaders in NATO, in the NATO alliance. And doesn't France have a seat on the National Security Council at the UN? They do. So Europe's looking pretty weak right now. You got a battered husband who's getting beaten up by his old lady wife. So the way that NATO operates, okay, if the danger with this war escalating is because the rest of Europe want the war because they're crooks. They want to steal money from the U.S. Treasury. And it wouldn't take much for this to break out in a complete World War III in Europe, okay? If Ukraine, any second, it may not happen at all, hopefully it doesn't, but at any moment, Putin could just lay waste to Ukraine. And the way he's acting, he looks like he's out of his freaking mind right now, Putin, doesn't he? I'm going to play some audio of Putin, translated, by the way, into English after the break. He sounds like a nutbag. All it takes is one rocket or one fighter to have a friendly fire incident across the border into Poland and kill some people, and then the next thing you know, World War III has begun. And the way that NATO works, which is a total disaster and stupid, the NATO treaty operates like this. An attack on one is considered an attack on all. This is what started World War I, right? Remember that whole thing they used to tell us? They probably don't teach this anymore. They're too busy teaching you that women have penises and all this stuff, so they don't teach you about the real. But remember, they used to teach us about beware of entangling alliances, and that's what happened in World War I. And so if if there's a stray missile or a jet hits one of the NATO countries and there's a war situation, that means all NATO countries, including the United States, are now at war with Russia. And here's the big problem. The countries of Europe have no military. They have enough military for parades. That's about it. Okay? And they have no military. They have very small armies in Europe. All the European countries have very small armies, non-existent air forces, and non-existent navies. Remember I was telling you guys, there's a historian I watch online out of the UK, and he had this shocking report I talked about a couple months ago. This is not a joke. The British Navy has more admirals than it has combat ships in operation. More admirals than they have combat ships. And the reason that Europe has small armies, no navies or air forces, is because Big Daddy America, they count on us to defend them. So if NATO gets involved in a war with Russia, that means we're going to be in full-scale war with Russia. President Trump has his hands full here, thanks to Anita Dunn, that junkie, Hunter Biden, and all the rest, and Obama, that were running the country and got this war going. This is really dangerous, and I'm going to tell you something. If I had a son or daughter who was thinking about joining the military, I would do everything I could do to stop them from doing it today. Oh yeah, I know. It's the recruitment's up and all, but I would do everything I could do to stop them from joining the military, because World War III could happen at any second. And if they insisted, I would try to push them into the Coast Guard, which Kristi Noem is going to rebuild, she said over the weekend. But I have a friend of ours whose son's joining the Coast Guard over the summer. Because this is it. I mean, this is some dangerous stuff. And they're going to blame Trump for the whole thing. You know that, right? They're going to blame Trump for the whole thing. He's got nothing to do with it. All right, let's take our break for the bottom of the hour. It's the Steve Kane Show. My name is Brian Craig. Our number toll-free, 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. We'll be right back.
Making morning radio great again. You're gonna really love it. It's the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig.
Hey, it's Scott on the radio reminding you that your favorite oldies are back on the air right after 10 a.m. this morning.
I have no idea.
On the True Oldies channel.
Now,
oh, damn it.
Here's the True Oldies weather forecast.
This Tuesday morning and throughout the day, up high at 84 degrees and a chance of thunderstorms.
You can't get that station here. That station's the southern station.
I thought he said 95.9.
I thought he said 96. You know what? I'm not sure which one he said now that you say it.
There's construction military trail between Gateway Boulevard and Hypolixo.
Oh my goodness.
Highway Blue Heron Boulevard to North Lake Boulevard. Spot something on the roads, call the traffic tip line. Pound 250 keyword west of traffic. I'm Ron Hersey.
Traffic, a service of the Palm Beach.
You said 96.9. Someone just told me.
Entertainment destination. Poker, OTB, table games, and exciting events. This Saturday, come out
I don't know.
watch, wager, and win on the second leg of the Triple Crown, the Preakness Stakes. The Paddock is the perfect place to catch all the OTB and sports action with over 140 HD TVs, delicious food, full bar, and friendly service. For more info, go to pbkennelclub.com.
We're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Linda Green, I just received my 7th and 8th set of Mike Lindell sheets. This time we got flannel ones, which we had never had. One for my husband for Christmas. He loves them. Oh my God. And especially with the cold days and nights we've been having the last few months in Florida. I got 2 more. I send them to my friends for Christmas now, and they just love them. Absolutely love them.
Yeah, I have the flannels too. You're like Goldilocks. They keep you the same temperature all night long.
Yes. So, perfect. The guy just has a great product.
The thing with Mike Lindell sheets, all of them, the fitted sheet at the bottom fits perfectly on the mattress. Every other sheet, you can't get the 4 corners on, and it's almost impossible. Even after having them for years and washing them, I don't know how many times, they still fit perfectly.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
You're probably going to be on the next My Pillow commercial, just so you know, okay? Because
okay.
Okay, just to let you know. You heard Lynn from Boynton. She loves her My Pillow sheets. Order yours right now at a huge discount. Use our promo code KANE, K-A-N-E, at checkout at mypillow.com.
Do you suffer from neuropathy? I did, until I went to Lighthouse Medical Center in Pompano. Numbness, pain, burning, tingling in my hands and feet, muscle weakness, loss of balance, muscle twitching have all but disappeared. Say goodbye to your neuropathy symptoms. Call Lighthouse Medical Center for a free consultation. 754-222-6642.
What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Brian. This is Donna from Jupiter. I'm calling to share my great experience with Jupiter Joe. My husband and I started listening to you a few years ago, and that's when we learned about Jupiter Joe Thomas. We're seniors with no pension and collect Social Security. All our investments were in stocks and IRAs until we heard about Jupiter Joe, speaking of having your money work for you. So we got in touch with him, and he went above and beyond trying to locate all our diversifications. He answered all our questions clearly and returned every phone call. He recommended an annuity that enabled us to get a safe monthly income for life. So I just want to tell everyone, if you're in need of additional income, especially with the high cost of everything these days, please call Joe Thomas. It's no cost to you. He is so professional, knowledgeable, trustworthy, and you can put total confidence in him. My husband and I can't say enough good things about Jupiter Joe and his staff.
I want to thank you for your kind words for Jupiter Joe Thomas. If you want to call Joe Thomas, I'm going to give you his number. It's a no-charge consultation, which you can take advantage of no matter where you're located. 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999. And online at jupiterjoe.com.
All right, we're back. It's 34 minutes after the hour. Okay, so Putin and everything that's going on over there. There's a lot of warmongers. Like, remember the presidential candidate? What's the name of the woman that was running for president that has man hands, that has sex with men other than her husband in the family car? Nikki Haley. I remembered her name. I just wanted to get those descriptors to put in the kind of person she is. She's part of the military-industrial complex, right? And remember what the plan was. The plan was for Butler not to turn out the way it did and make her the nominee and president. That's what their plan was. Right? And DeSantis as her vice president. And then they were going to have war. She wants war with Iran. She wants war with Putin. She just wants war, war, war. Well, I guess if there's war, she makes more money. So when I said earlier, could the United States have been behind the assassination attempt on Putin if it happened? I don't mean Trump. I mean the United States, and Trump wouldn't do that. I'm talking about military-industrial complex, deep state to try to escalate things. And a lot of people are going to tell you today, well, Russia stands alone. They don't. They're allied with Iran, that Mark Levin and Netanyahu and a lot of lunatics like Nikki Haley want to start war with. And they would not, be alone. They would also have our big enemy China backing them up. So while whatever sanction, President Trump says he can put economic sanctions to put them out of business, China would do everything they can do to get Putin through that. So he's not a man alone. So let me play this. This is Putin. It's translated into English. And he's talking, and this is recent. This is like yesterday.
To get him in a chokehold. They're trying to strangle us, and we should reciprocate. We did not chase anyone out. We provided the best possible conditions to work in our market, and they're trying to choke us. And we should act in a mirror fashion.
Okay, so we're in a major escalation here. This is scary. The only thing that doesn't have me terrified is that Donald Trump's the president, right? Could you imagine if Willie Brown's girlfriend and wino alcoholic Kamala Harris was president, forget about it. We'd be done right now. The war would be burning. The world would be burning right now. It would. Oh, by the way, this guy that the Israelis deported, this American, I know he's American, German citizen, that was going to attack the U.S. Embassy and also was talking about assassinating President Trump. He had Molotov cocktails he left at the embassy, right? Remember this guy over the weekend? Breitbart's reporting he was a Democrat canvasser, another Democrat. How many Democrats are killed? We got a Democrat commits an act of terrorism and kills 2 Jews in D.C. We got another Democrat who tried to blow up our embassy in Israel and was going to kill another Democrat canvasser. How many Democrats are out there killing people, trying to kill people, or dreaming of killing people? Seems like a lot. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Listen, as a former employee of the CIA, this is George, and I've called you before. I have no faith in the CIA, and I wouldn't doubt if it was the CIA that was attempting the assassination.
Oh, yeah, to escalate things. I wouldn't be surprised at all. No.
I agree with everything you said this morning, and I'm so ticked off. And that lady, the Macron's wife, I mean, what a bitch she is, I'm telling you.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, I agree. She's a lunatic. All right, appreciate the call. You know, this thing with Macron is not a joke. France is one of the leaders of NATO, and what is Macron's biggest problem right now? He's got to act like a man with a big pair. A guy like this could push to escalate things so he doesn't look like some battered husband. Macron's got to look like a man. Now, I want to share something that is on a topic I normally don't, and then after the break, we'll get back to the important stuff. You know, the discharges of the transgender people is starting soon out of the military, which is a good thing. Did you guys hear Pete Hegseth's speech yesterday on Memorial Day at Arlington? That was he's on the list of presidential vice president. Could you see him being the running mate and being vice president for J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio? Pete Hegseth? That was some speech. I don't really pay too much attention to speeches unless it's Trump, you know? But that was pretty good. It was pretty amazing. And he's done a lot. General Raisin Kane that President Trump's been talking about for so long, that was the first time I'd really seen him. I did not know he was in the Air Force. I thought he was a Marine or Army general. I didn't know he was an Air Force general. But he was there yesterday. It was pretty good. And they have they're ridding the military of the transgender weirdness, and the discharges start next month. And what they're doing is they're giving them time to get with their doctors and get off their meds and be able to physically be able to do it. But I came across I don't play this stuff too much, but I am today. There's a guy who's living as a woman who used the ladies' room at Walt Disney World over the weekend and put a video online, which I'm going to share with you. And, you know, I have been an annual pass holder at Walt Disney World for years and years and years. Okay, I've been going to Walt Disney World since my first visit to Florida when I was 5 in 1976. And this year I didn't renew my annual pass. And I've not been to Disney World in a couple of years. And I used to go every month. I'd go to Disney World with my wife, my daughter. You know, I used to have another YouTube channel, which I don't do anymore. I've turned it into something else about going to Disney World. And the reason that is a lot of reasons, but their wokeness has just gotten insane. Now, I do have the Disney Plus app. And the only reason I have the Disney Plus app is because of Star Wars. I'm a Star Wars fan, and they got all the Star Wars there, and they got all these Star Wars series like this new one, Andor, and everything else, and I don't want to miss it, and I keep the Star Wars app, and the Star Wars app has morphed into, it's Hulu and Disney Plus. Now, the Disney Plus app's supposed to be for little kids. They want to watch Lilo and Stitch or something, you know, and what they have up there now is adult programming. Well, I saw a title right there on the front of it that had sex in it when I went to watch Andor the other. I couldn't believe. They're very inappropriate, and they're a bunch of weirdos at Disney. So anyway, I wanted to share this with you, and if you're on hold, hang in there. After the break, we'll get back to the other stuff. But this is, oh, I just lost it. Let me pull it up. Okay. This is a transgender man living as a woman who made a video, and I've been to Disney World so many times. He's on Main Street, USA. I can see in the background. I know exactly where he is. He's talking about he's in Florida, and he doesn't know if he can use the ladies' room, so he goes and does it. Let me play this for you. And he doesn't use any profanity, and you don't have to dump pee. Okay, listen.
Made it into Disney World. I don't really know what the deal is with bathrooms. Florida is really conservative. I don't know what the rules are. Trans women are allowed to be in women's bathrooms, but I'm about to go and use the bathroom because I have to tinkle. If I get stopped, I get stopped, I guess, but I'm a woman, so I'm going to use the women's bathroom, and being in Florida or being in California or wherever isn't going to stop me. So I will report back in a minute once I have hopefully tinkled without issue.
3 minutes later.
That went as well as it could have gone. No one gave me any weird looks. Definitely no one stopped me. I walked in, I found a stall. I peed standing up, which is something I'm sometimes a little self-conscious about with the sound. Think, oh, is there someone peeing standing up there? But you know what? I peed standing up, and it was fine. And then I washed my hands and I left. And you know what? On my way out from the women's bathroom, I took a quick picture with someone who recognized me, and it was lovely. So overall, Disney World in Florida, 10 out of 10 women's bathroom experience for trans women, would recommend.
Okay, yeah, what a weirdo. There's children there, man. Okay, this thing here, the reason I played this is this peeing standing up thing. It used now again, I can never remember I've mentioned this once or twice when we've talked about this issue. There was a woman who used to be a man that had a full sex change operation in the 80s, was on all the talk shows because somehow they got themselves in a James Bond movie and were a Bond girl. Does anybody remember who that was? I can never remember their name. And they were on all the talk shows. Oh, I've had a sex change operation and I was a Bond girl. And I don't remember which James Bond movie it was. I'm assuming it was a Roger Moore movie, because at the time in my memory of when this person was on all the TV shows doing interviews about it, and Roger Moore's, I like Roger Moore. But anyway, Tula, somebody told me in the chat room, Tula sounds right. There was a T, Tula, something. If it's not Tula, it's something similar. And on WOR out of New York, they used to do a talk show, and WOR was national, even though it was out of New York, New Jersey. And I saw Tula interviewed there about the process to get a sex change operation. And they very specifically said that before a doctor would even begin the process of transitioning you, before the surgery, you would have to naturally sit when you peed for a year. That was part of the psychological requirements, that you had to naturally sit while you urinated before they would even begin the process. This person here, they go into the ladies' room and they pee standing up. This is just an attention getter who wants to go viral, so they do things. I'm sorry to tell you, that's not what a true trans person would be. Not that they're, I'm not advocating for it or anything, but if you are peeing standing up, you're a man. True people that have the gender issues do it sitting down. Even if they, that's telling you, I'm telling you. All right. If you're on hold, stand by. We'll take our last break of the first hour and be right back.
The cold, hard truth. Delivered morning 6 to 9 right here on The Steve Kane Show.
Hi, this is Maureen Cohen from Nutrition World Palm Beach Gardens, your locally owned, family-run health food store, featuring one of the largest selections of natural products in the area. From supplements to organic foods, body care to natural pet foods, we stock thousands of only the top quality brands that you've come to trust. One of those brands is Terry Naturally. Our friend Terry is hosting a radio show called Terry Talks Nutrition, Saturday mornings at 6 a.m. right here on the True Oldies channel. Terry will share the latest on health and nutrition as he helps us learn how to achieve good health with natural ingredients, and covers important topics like heart health, weight loss, balancing hormones, pain relief, inflammation, and so many others. So listen here to the True Oldies channel every Saturday at 6 a.m. for Terry Talks Nutrition, and stop by Nutrition World, open 7 days a week. We're at the northeast corner of PGA Boulevard and Prosperity Farms Road in the Carmines Market Plaza. You can visit nutritionworld.com or call or text us at 561-626-4377. That's 626-4377.
At the bio station Let's Go Away, Dr. Mitch Matez, an expert in hormone replacement therapy, is here to help you reclaim your youth. Hormone replacement therapy is all natural and can restore.
If you're new, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel.
You'll feel younger, have more energy, and even get your sex drive back. And for women, hormone replacement pellet therapy can completely stop and reverse the signs and symptoms of menopause. No more mood swings, better sleep, and no more night sweats. Call Dr. Matez for a free consultation today at 561-320-8893. That's 561.
Oh, what a day, guys.
When it comes to dental work, there's no one better than Dr. Gupta at Brighton Dental. But don't just take my word for it. This is Richie the bus driver. He called in on the air to share his experience with Dr. Gupta.
You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Richie. Dr. Gupta. I go 139 miles to this guy. I had a broken tooth. He fixed it. It was supposed to be temporary. It lasted 2 years. He put dentures in my mouth that are a lot cheaper than anybody else. And he's excellent.
Oh, Mike. Remember, remind me if I forget during the break. There's something I wanted to tell you.
Richie the bus driver. Go see Dr. Gupta at Brighton Dental. 954-922-4633.
In case I forget.
954-922-4633.
We take on the social justice warriors for breakfast. Now the
It's
Steve
something you
Kane
guys
Show
can't
is
hear.
on the air.
All right, Carlos on hold, stand by. I'm Brian Craig. It's Tuesday. We are back live today. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Oh, here we go. This is the beginning. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? All right, they're trying to do something, but whatever they wanted to play over the phone, they didn't have it queued up right, so it didn't work out. Epic fail. Oh my goodness. Eddie Vedder. You know, you guys know who Eddie Vedder is? I'd forgotten about Eddie Vedder, honestly. I hadn't thought about Eddie Vedder in a while. I'll tell you what, though, if you're a musician, don't take any advice from Eddie Vedder. Eddie Vedder's the lead singer of Pearl Jam. And I was a fan of Pearl Jam, okay? Don't get me wrong. They were really, I thought Nirvana was better. They were kind of on Nirvana's coattails back in the grunge era. But Pearl Jam, Eddie Vedder's a stupid, stupid person. When they were at the top of their game, and remember their big song, Jeremy? And it was on the album 10. I was a big Pearl Jam fan, but then I guess I grew up. And Eddie Vedder is the lead singer of Pearl Jam. They did the dumbest thing. When grunge came in, there were a lot of bands, Nirvana, Green Day, a whole bunch during that era. But the two big ones were Nirvana and Pearl Jam. And when whatever happened with Nirvana, Pearl Jam was the lone true grunge band, And they got into this communist mindset. At least that was their story. I just think it was greed by the band. Back then, and there's some truth to the way this works now, back then, to do a concert, you had to do it through Ticketmaster, right? And you could not sell tickets for a concert without Ticketmaster. Well, Pearl Jam decided that they had a monopoly. Yes, Soundgarden. There were a lot of great ones. I was into all that music, I was all into that. But anyway, they didn't tour. Because they would not let Ticketmaster produce and promote their concerts. So they couldn't sell concert tickets. And they kind of went away into obscurity. I know they're still around, and there are people like me, that listen to them. But I haven't listened to any of their music really since 10, that album. The 10 album is the one with Jeremy on it, and the cover's purple. Okay? And it just says Pearl Jam on it. And Eddie Vedder put the band out of business. And I don't think it was they cared about the fans. Who cared? You know how much tickets used to cost back then? I could go I used to go to concerts all the time. Now, I worked in radio, so I'd get free tickets a lot of times. So But I would go, sometimes I'd buy tickets. I could get in the second row for top acts for $12. $12. That's how much, yeah. I remember I took my daughter for her 16th birthday to see, who did I take her to see? I can't remember, but it was $2,000. And my sister-in-law took her daughter with friends to see Taylor Swift. You could buy a house for what that cost. Oh, Justin Bieber. It was $2,000 to take my daughter to see Justin Bieber. I couldn't believe it. But it was her 16th birthday. But back in the days of Pro Jam, I could go buy tickets for $12, $20. I remember once $30. I'm like, what? What are they trying to pull here? $30. And I always had good seats at concerts, and I would see top acts. I mean, I saw now again, I'm talking about when they were top acts. I'm not talking about today. I'm talking about like in the 80s. I saw I saw Prince Prince in the Revolution, keep in mind, right? Right up front for $18 a ticket. $18 a ticket at the peak. Okay? And it goes on. So I think Eddie Vedder just wanted to pocket the money and pretended to care about fans because concert tickets were cheap, man. So anyway, Eddie Vedder is defending Bruce Springsteen. During a performance in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Pearl Jam frontman Eddie Vedder voiced a defense of left-wing rocker Bruce Springsteen, who continues to bash the United States while touring overseas. When a hero like Bruce Springsteen brings up issues and makes his thoughts be known, he uses his microphone to speak for those who don't have a voice sometimes, Eddie Vedder said from the stage. Okay, two things here. First off, this is the first time I have said the name Eddie Vedder out loud since like 94. I don't think I've said the name Eddie Vedder. I almost got his name wrong. I don't think I've said the name Eddie Vedder into a microphone since maybe 92, right? So now everyone's talking about Eddie Vedder today, at least people my age that, like that 10 album. Yeah, I'll take 10 and the rest of Pearl Jam can, I don't need to hear anything else. Okay? But I know, exactly. So it's a publicity stunt. But here's the thing about these rockers. Bruce Springsteen sucks. He never could sing, okay? He's a no talent. He got lucky with the Born in the USA. But what these rockers don't understand is they, rock and roll music, these guys have always been the hippies, right? Standing up against the man, standing up against the establishment. Now they're fighting for the establishment, and they don't even know it. But I bet you this. I bet you Bruce Springsteen and Eddie Vedder take those Trump tax cuts. Well, Eddie Vedder may not make enough money for them. But if he does, I bet they take those Trump tax cuts. But what is it with all these lefties that are now part of the establishment that rock and roll was supposed to be fighting against? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? See, this is going to be the new attempt. You know, I don't mind you trying to Baba Boomy or do something, but like do something. Don't just sit there and yeah, you're on the air. Oh, he's going to try now. Okay, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Oh, this will be good.
You think I'm trolling?
I don't know. Well,
some insight to I was listening to your music bit.
Oh, okay. I don't know if it was a bit. Let's hear your insight. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Tyler, and I'm actually a musician myself.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. So let's hear your insight.
Well, I just wanted to pick apart the grunge thing. Actually, after the '90s, like during the '90s,
We're not doing a music retrospective on grunge music. There you go. See, didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you? First time today we had to use the dump button. Oh my goodness. Although Open Phones is on Friday, but I don't think we would do a retrospect on grunge back then either. All right, it wasn't around long enough to do a retrospective. All right, if you're on hold, hang in there. Oh boy. My name is Brian Craig. You're listening to the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest running radio show. On the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio. 1 hour down, 2 to go. If you'd like to call in, our number is toll free. 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call no matter where you are listening. We'll take our break for the top of the hour, come back with your calls, and there's a lot more to talk about as well that happened over the weekend. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
WS
Okay. Oh, yeah. I didn't want it dimmed in here. You guys can't hear this.
This Tuesday morning and throughout the day, up high at 84 degrees and a chance of thunderstorms. Tuesday night is going to be a low of 81 degrees with a chance of thunderstorms. Wednesday, a high of 84 degrees with a chance of thunderstorms. And then Wednesday night, another slight chance of thunderstorms with a low of 81 degrees.
And now, a True Oldies traffic check. Brought to you by the Palm Beach Kennel Club.
On the turnpike, northbound, there's a backup approaching Beeline Highway. On Tangerine Boulevard, watch for crews working to restore down to power lines at 120th Avenue North. Spot something on the roads, call the traffic tip line. Pound 250, keyword West Palm traffic. I'm Ron Hersey.
Traffic, a service of the Palm Beach Kennel Club. PBKC is your entertainment destination with poker, OTB, table games, exceptional eats, and exciting events. The poker room is open daily for cash games, tournaments, amazing promotions, and easy-to-play table games. Get super OTB action every day except Tuesday from top racetracks around the country. PBKC, where winners play. Go to our website, pbkennelclub.com.
Attention, True Oldies listeners. By popular demand, Sloman's is bringing back their unbeatable offer. How would you like to spring into the season with a free doorbell camera? Yes, you heard that right. You get a doorbell camera, and you get a doorbell camera. Everybody gets a doorbell camera. That's right. The first 40 callers who dial 1-833-283-5050 can unlock this limited-time offer, featuring a free doorbell camera that connects directly to your smartphone.
I was telling Mike about something that one of our listeners did off the air. We always have these. Wasn't I right? That guy was a troll.
Home security system, along with professional installation. Your new security system includes a high-tech LED touchscreen, a motion detector, 10 contacts, a lifetime warranty, and a backup battery. Don't miss out. Be one of the first 40 True Oldies listeners to call 1-833-283-5050.
I had a comment I was going to share with you guys that somebody left me on YouTube, and I hit refresh and lost it. Hold on.
Have you put off buying new tires because you thought they were too expensive? Find friendly prices at Friendly Tire and Margate on both new and used tires. New tires
There
as
it
low
is.
as $70 a tire. That's out the door and on the road because Friendly Tire doesn't charge you to balance the tire or mount the tire. They have thousands of used tires in stock too, starting at just $30. Call for a quote right over the phone.
No, but Eddie Vedder's trying to get some publicity. Maybe he's hoping Bruce will let Pearl Jam open for him.
That's JupiterJoe.com. On the air since 1977, it's the Steve Kane Show.
All right, we're back. Hour number 2 has begun. We are back live on this Tuesday morning. Yeah, maybe, Eddie Vedder, maybe he's hoping that Bruce Springsteen will have Pearl Jam open up for. Who I'd rather see than Eddie Vedder and Pearl? I would rather see Eddie and the Cruisers than Eddie Vedder and Pearl. Wouldn't you? Do you know who Eddie and the Cruisers are? Right? Probably don't. Eddie and the Cruisers, the best band that does not exist. Eddie and the Cruisers, right? That's right. All right, back to it. Okay, a lot going on, a lot to talk about. We covered a lot in the first hour, some of which I'll recap later in the show. Eddie and the Cruisers. Cruisers, baby. You guys know who Eddie and the Cruisers are. I know. You guys, if you're listening to me, most of you probably know. You're old enough to know. I saw an incredible interview over the weekend. Do you guys know Raymond Arroyo, who's on Fox News all the time? Raymond Arroyo. He's very, very funny. And I did not know this, but he does an interview show. I don't know where it airs. I saw it online over the weekend. I saw a clip of it on X, and I went and found it online and watched this particular interview. Raymond Arroyo, he's on Fox all the time. He's very funny. He's very religious. He's Catholic, and he does a show on EWTN. So I don't know if his show airs on EWTN, if it's on the Fox app. There's nothing that'll get me to get that Fox Nation app. I used to have it. I know Gutfeld has this new reality game show, which looks interesting. I saw the sneak peek of it, but you're not going to get me to get that app again. Not if I have to pay for it. It's a pretty fun. Have you seen the new Gutfeld game show, by the way, before I get to this Arroyo thing? He's got a very funny reality show, Greg Gutfeld. It's only on the Fox Nation app, which I'm not going to pay for ever again. I paid for it once, and it was so bad, and then they had something they were promoting, so I got it again, and it was so bad I couldn't watch it, and I got rid of it. But Greg Gutfeld, he has this reality show where they take people and they have them in a mansion sequestered from the internet for months, and then they bring them out and they run headlines by them, and they got to determine whether the headlines are true or not. And it's kind of funny. I did see a sneak preview of it. It was pretty funny. But anyway, Raymond Arroyo, he interviewed David Mamet, who is one of the most respected Hollywood screenwriters that's of the last 40 years. He's also a director, and I think his most famous two things that he wrote were, he wrote a lot of stuff, but he wrote Glengarry Glen Ross and also The Untouchables. But he's done a lot of other things that are very well known and very famous, but those are the two big. Glengarry Glen Ross is probably his most famous, David Mamet. So, anyway, Raymond Arroyo's interviewing him, and he's MAGA. He's conservative. I've heard that David Mamet's conservative, and I watched the whole interview. It was phenomenal. It was like 90 minutes long, an hour and 20 minutes long. That's a long time for me to watch an interview with one person. And I watched the whole thing because David Mamet was so interesting. And then I went and watched one of his movies that he had mentioned that I never heard of, which was really good. I remember the name of it. I didn't pay attention to the title. I just pulled it up while he was talking, and then I watched it later. But anyway, he talked about the Democrat Party. And he said that the Democrat Party died the day that Trump was reelected. And I agree with that. And not only did it but I would push it back a little bit. I think the Democrat Party died the day that they shot Trump and Butler, the Never Trumpers. But the Democrat Party machine is over. It's over. They had their run, and it's over. And I know they got David Hogg running around doing stupid stuff, and they're doing this. They got this new thing they're doing. I got a couple clips of this I want to play. This was from some of the Sunday shows. Here's the first one. They've lost men. Okay, and what David Mamet said about the Democrats, it was really amazing. He says if you look at the anti-Trump and the Elon Musk protest around the world, what do you see? You got grandmas and grandpas, right? I went to that one Tesla thing, and I was like, at my age, I was like pretty much the youngest person there, right? They were all gray hair and blue hair, old men and old ladies. And David Mamet was talking about how they don't have any replacements in the Democrat Party. David Hogg is, that's not a replacement. They're not bringing new Democrats into the party. And the party it's been broken, and it's dying off. You've got to, you've got to reproduce, and you reproduce by getting more people to be Democrat. And that's just not happening anymore. And the Republican Party, because of Trump and all the great work Charlie Kirk has done and others, we have a lot of young people that are Republicans. And I cannot stress how unusual that is. Okay? I mean, to be a Republican, the young Republicans used to be the dorky kids like Ben Shapiro, with the khakis and a blue button-up with penny loafers on. That was your average young Republican. Never have a girlfriend, all that stuff. And now the cool kids are Republicans, and the Democrats, they have no one coming up. They're done. And David Mamet was talking a lot about this. And over the weekend on the Sunday shows, the Democrats, they were talking about their new campaign to recruit young people. Here's a Democrat strategist over the weekend on MSNBC. Listen to this idiot.
Yeah, good questions. One, let me save the folks from the Times and all the other great, print outlets some time. If you dig in on what Democrats are researching right now, you're going to find a lot of silly stuff. You're going to find people asking a lot of questions, people asking about syntax and do I drop the G from this word and this and that, and it's going to be a lot of that. So let me just warn everybody, that process is going to be very obnoxious for this 40-something. I would also say, we're really talking about young men, right? Young men who Democrats have not figured out a consistent pitch for how to get in front of. And I think it starts with authenticity. Yeah. Okay.
Young men, they're not able to get young men, or really young women for that matter. And then there was on CNN, let me pull this. If you're on hold, hang in there. We'll get to the calls. But there's this is Dana Bash on CNN over the weekend, talking about the same thing.
So we mentioned new voters, which is also young voters, another way to say that. And now I want to talk about men. And here's something from the New York Times. This is written by our friend of the show, Shane Goldmacher. The prospectus for one new $20 million effort obtained by the Times aims to reverse the erosion of Democratic support among young men, especially online. It is codenamed SAM, short for Speaking with American Men, a strategic plan, and promises investments to study the syntax, language, and...
Notice same thing. So that this is CNN sharing the Dana Bash, New York Times. The Democrats have this new thing called SAM, which is their plan to reach out to young men and replenish their party.
It is codenamed SAM, short for Speaking with American Men, a strategic plan, and promises investments to study the syntax, language, and content that gains attention and the virility in these spaces. It recommends buying advertisements in video games, among other things. So you're the man here. I will not mansplain you. All I will say is, duh.
Yeah, I know. Look, they should have probably recognized this a couple of cycles before when this trend was growing very apparent. This was a huge problem for them in the past election cycle, and they need to figure it out, because right now the Democratic message is really all over the place. What do they exactly stand for?
Okay, blah, blah, blah. So you notice the Democrats on the Sunday show, how are we going to get men? They're not going to get young men. I shared something on my one of my podcast episodes this last week, and I showed this video on my podcast. It was amazing. Adam Carolla put together something that blew my mind, and it fits into this Macron slap. He was showing videos of interviews with, and I show this on my podcast, of liberal and conservative men that are leaders. And the liberal men that are leaders all sit with their legs crossed when they're doing TV interviews. Governor Newsom, Obama, Macron was one of them. And then he shows the conservative men, not just in America, but around the world, and they sit with their legs both flat-footed on the ground in a chair like a man. And, you know, the liberal men have been metrosexualized and feminized, and young men don't want to grow up to be girls. And that's just it. And the Democrats, they got a lot of things they're doing to try to win people back. And you got to be very careful for these traps, okay? So they got whatever this thing is. They're out there. They're going to run ads during video games. Oh, that'll do it. Yeah, all you're going to do, if you recruit anybody from the video game ads, all you're going to do are recruit losers, okay? But there's two other things that the Democrats have been doing, and they did this over the weekend to try to bring blacks back to the party. One, the all-day worship of George Floyd. They're trying to cause racial division, so they got the George Floyd worship. That's not going to fly. BLM is defunct. They were exposed by Candace Owens. Black Lives Matter was really just a real estate scam. Right? Remember I was talking about Glengarry Glen Ross? That's what that was. It's a real estate scam. Black Lives Matter. They're out of business. They didn't get any of that George Floyd love going over the weekend, because over the weekend was Africa Day. Did you notice it was Africa? I never heard of Africa Day, but it was Africa Day over the weekend. So they were celebrating Africa Day. So they were, they had the George Floyd anniversary, and then all of a sudden Patriot Front comes out of the woodwork, and they're back. This fake deep state, fake white supremacist organization. So they're going to run ads during video games to try to recruit young men playing video games, and then they're going to they're trying to cause racial division, just like Rush used to say. The Democrats use that same old worn-out, tired playbook. They use the same plays every election, and we're on to them. All right, if you're on hold, stand by. We're going to take our first break of the second hour and be right back.
Don't sit on the sidelines. Get in on the action. Call the Steve Kane Show live on air now. 888-GO-KANE-1. This is the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig.
Hey, it's Scott on the radio, reminding you that your favorite oldies are back on the air right after 10 a.m. this morning, right here on the True Oldies channel.
If you're a homeowner or with a homeowners association and your roof is old or compromised, you need to call Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing. Laporta Roofing has been in the roofing and construction business since 1984, with thousands of roof installations and thousands of satisfied customers. Did you know that in the state of Florida, you can open a roofing company and borrow someone else's license? Tom Laporta is the holder of his roofing and general contractor's licenses, not like the other companies that borrow other people's licenses. So be sure who you're dealing with. Tom Laporta and his team are honest, knowledgeable, and reliable, and he'll never sell you a roof you don't need. Laporta Roofing carries all insurance, including workers' compensation on all of its employees, not just a waiver like other contractors. Laporta Roofing can handle any type of roofing job too. Residential roofing, HOAs, condominiums, and churches. If it's roofing, Laporta Roofing can do it. So call Tom Laporta on his cell phone, is 954-604-4602. Laporta Roofing, the go-to roofing company you can trust. Brian Craig here. When it comes time to get my blood work done, I don't have time to spend hours in the doctor's office or waiting hours at one of those big labs. That's why I go to Any Lab Test Now of Boca and Any Lab Test Now of Coral Springs for all of my lab work. Their techs are highly skilled and professional, and their prices are guaranteed to be the lowest on lab work you'll find anywhere. Appointments aren't necessary. Doctor's orders and prescriptions, they're not needed either. I'm in and out in 15 minutes or less. I get the results the next day in my email box, and they also send it to my doctor. There's lots of Any Lab Test Nows around, but these are the only two advertising on our radio station. So don't use the rest. Only go to Any Lab Test Now of Boca and Any Lab Test Now of Coral Springs. Any Lab Test Now of Boca is in the Sandalfoot Plaza. That's where the Western Beef is.
Between Palmetto Park Road and Hillsborough Boulevard on the east side of State Road 7, 441. Any Lab Test Now of Coral Springs is on the southeast corner of University and Ramblewood by the Coral Square Mall. Call Any Lab Test Now of Boca at 561-237-5009. Any Lab Test Now of Coral Springs number is 954-906-5983. And don't forget to mention that you heard about them on the radio.
Now back to the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig. Listen in the Palm Beaches on 95.9 FM, the Treasure Coast on 106.9 FM, Harrison Boca on 95.3 FM, Fort Lauderdale on 96.9 FM, and
All right, callers on hold. Stand by. I'm Brian, Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? There we go. There we go. Twice today. All right. If you're on hold, we're going to wait for the delay to re-engage. Oh, my goodness. Oh, wow. You know what, though? That gives me time to do a spot. Yeah, I want to talk about Dr. Appleton. You know, Dr. Appleton, it's going to be 3 years in August that he rid me of pain for the first time. That was with my knee. And, you know, that's the one that's the most memorable to me because I had suffered with that knee pain for, I don't know, 25, 30 years, since I was 20, 21, especially this time of year during the rainy season. And his laser away pain treatment works. I mean, it works. It's 100% painless. Not only is it painless, you don't even feel it while the treatment's being done. The laser treatment, which all of them are performed by Dr. Appleton himself, not an assistant, not an aide. He does them all himself. I thought I was getting VIP treatment, but no, everybody gets VIP treatment with Dr. Appleton. He performs all the treatments. But what the laser treatment does, it repairs the damage that's causing you the pain. That's why when he's rid me of pain 7 times, starting with my knee 3 years ago, come August, the pain hasn't returned. Okay, now remember, there's no shots, no injections, no downtime, no surgery, no drugs, and it works on every type of pain I have ever heard of. Give Dr. Appleton a call and say bye-bye to your pain, too. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonCairo.com. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Conservative Doug.
Oh, hey, Doug.
I was always a big fan of Pearl Jam, but now he went with Bruce Springsteen, and I don't listen to Bruce Springsteen. I never really liked Bruce Springsteen anyway. But
A guy your age is in the Pearl Jam. Well, I guess the music. We're all getting older. I guess you don't. You seem too old for Pearl Jam.
no, man, if it's cool, I like it. Those guys were good. I thought they were really good, but now I won't listen to Pearl Jam. I want.
Well, Eddie Vedder and Bruce Springsteen do have the same singing style. They both sound like they're constipated, right? Jimmy spoken, they both. Neither of them can really sing.
Man, I was at a concert one time to see Bruce Springsteen, and he kept singing and singing and singing. I said, if he sings one more song, I got to get up there for almost. I left. Man, I couldn't stand that guy. But now I won't watch. I won't watch a De Niro movie. I won't listen to them. Anyway.
And I got to tell you, this is an interesting thing about when these actors and everything do this. Okay, De Niro is obviously overrated, but I love that movie Heat. Michael Mann, who did Miami Vice, did Heat. I have seen Heat probably 100 times, and I love that movie. And they came out, there's a new Michael Mann Director's Cut edition that I'd never seen before that has like 45 minutes of footage that was edited out of all the other releases. And I love that movie so much, I went to watch it, and this was just a couple of months ago. I couldn't get into it because of how he behaved in front of, remember when he went to New York, he was in front of the courthouse talking like a lunatic about President Trump, and it just messed up the whole movie. And I tried to watch it one more time when Val Kilmer died, because he's in Heat, and they take you out of it. They destroy what little careers they have.
Yeah, man, I have to agree with that. Totally agree, man, because I can't watch it. I was going to watch Wise Guys. I said, no, man.
Oh, please.
Forget it.
Yeah, forget it. He basically plays the same guy in everything he's in. He doesn't have a lot of range, De Niro.
You know, it's like Barbra Streisand. Great voice, but hard to listen to.
Well, he had, I'll tell you, this is the thing about De Niro, and then we'll get back to the issue. I'll tell you this about De Niro, okay? By the way, he should have been arrested in the first campaign. He was threatening to commit acts of violence against a presidential candidate, which is a crime, you know? I mean, he did more than Comey. I mean, he was like really, he said it. Remember he released that video about punching President Trump? He made a movie about 15 years ago that was very controversial. We talked about it at the time, called Dirty Grandpa. And let me tell you something. The language that he uses in that movie is the most vile, disgusting, perverted things you've ever heard a man say. And the whole movie is about him trying to get this college girl to have sex with him. And I watched it at the time because it was a controversy and we were talking about it on the air, and I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. And I thought, I can't believe Robert De Niro's talking this way. Dirty Grandpa's the movie. And then when we saw him talk about Trump, he was basically playing himself in that movie, Dirty Grandpa. He is a vile, disgusting person.
I was so happy when Clint Eastwood threw him off the stage on The View.
I saw a guy who he is an actor that was in that. He was in a big movie last year. Oppenheimer. This guy, he was in Oppenheimer, and I saw him on an interview, and he told a story about De Niro. He was at a party in New York at a friend's house who lived across the hall from De Niro. And this was a few years ago. And De Niro's kids he's got a lot of problems. If you've seen his grandson's a girl now, he's got to turn into a granddaughter. But anyway, he left the party, and De Niro had young kids at the time. And his little kid, who was 5 or 6, got in the elevator. De Niro didn't even know he was gone, went downstairs and walked out on the streets of New York. And this guy that's in Oppenheimer saw him and knew something and took him to De Niro's apartment because he lived across the hall. De Niro didn't even say thank you. He just shut the door on his face when he took him his 5-6-year-old kid back. He said, nasty. All right, thanks for the call. All right, now I got a message from a listener in Germany. Okay, I want to read this to you. You know, and he's got some strong opinions about me. You know, this is a weird kind of job to have. I mean, I want you guys to think about this. You're always going to have haters in the audience, and that's just the way it is. I learned that on day one, okay? And I don't pay too much attention to them. But if people take the time to write, I will read it. Because, you know, few people write these days, okay, as they used to, right? So if somebody writes something that's, you know, critical, I'll typically read it because they went to the trouble of writing it. I feel like I should read it. And sometimes I respond, you know, because they took the time to write. It's not like the old days when everybody's writing all the time. So I do that. But I don't really care what people that are critical say because, you know, I mean, could you imagine if when you went to work, you had thousands of people watching you at work and there was a screen in front of you, and the whole time you were working, there were people, not only do you have thousands and thousands of people listening to you work, they're watching you work, and there's a screen in front of you with people the whole time you're working, leaving comments, critiquing everything you're doing while at work. It's kind of a weird thing, isn't it? It is. And you just, you know, I've learned to tune it out over the years. But anyway, this guy, he's a listener in Germany, and over the weekend, my daughter moved back to Florida from Los Angeles. And I went out and had lunch with my daughter on Saturday, and I made a YouTube video about it. Put the video online, and this guy's commenting on that, right? Okay, so he didn't sign his name, but he's a listener in Germany. So he's the grandchild of Nazis, and he's got strong opinions about me. Okay, he said, I watched you recently, and I really didn't understand how you think or why you believe the things you do. So I watched one of your videos. He watched this video of me out having lunch with my daughter on YouTube I put up. So he says, so I watched one of your videos to get a better insight into your life. And honestly, you didn't come across as a hateful person at all, unlike what I heard during the show. I don't understand why you support Trump. You don't seem stupid at all. So I'm just trying to figure out what makes you so confident in him. Why don't you question the things I find questionable? He says, I'm a foreigner in the U.S., and I'm just trying to form an informed opinion, but most of the time, I don't hear any solid arguments for supporting Trump. It often just sounds like people believe whatever he says without question. Help me, from Germany. Okay, now I looked at the clock. I'm going to take our break for the bottom of the hour, and I'm going to tell you, because a lot of new people, they find the show over time. And I have said, since Trump came down the escalator, and especially now, I say often, I will never disagree with Donald Trump, and I will never criticize Trump. And a lot of people think, well, you're crazy. I'm going to tell you why that is after the break. I'm Brian, Steve Kane Show. We'll be right back.
Making morning radio great again. I think you're going to really love it. It's the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig.
Hey, it's Scott on the radio reminding you that your favorite oldies are back on the air right after 10 a.m. this morning on the True Oldies channel.
Now, here's the True Oldies weather forecast.
This Tuesday morning and throughout the day, up high at 84 degrees and a chance of thunderstorms. Tuesday night is going to be a low of 81.
Did you get it worked out?
Wednesday, a high of 84 degrees.
You got it fixed back there?
It's on it. The screen is just something off the screen.
Oh.
There's like a white piece, like white little spot, like right here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think someone might have broke the screen.
Oh yeah, that's the...
Spot something on the roads, call the traffic tip line. Pound 250 keyword West Palm traffic. I'm Ron Hersey.
Traffic, a service of the Palm Beach Kennel Club. PBKC is your entertainment destination with poker, OTB, table games, and exciting events. This Saturday, come out and watch, wager, and win on the second leg of the Triple Crown, the Preakness Stakes. The paddock is the perfect place to catch all the OTB and sports action with over 140 HD TVs.
Oh, this is great.
Full bar and friendly service. For more info, go to pbkennelclub.com.
We're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Linda Green, I just received my 7th and 8th set of Mike Lindell sheets. This time we got flannel ones, which we had never had. I got one for my husband for Christmas. He loves it. Oh my God. And especially with the cold days and nights you've been having the last few months in Florida. I got 2 more. I send them to my friends for Christmas now, and they just love them. Absolutely love them.
Yeah, I have the flannels too. You're like Goldilocks. They keep you the same temperature all night long.
Yes. So perfect. The guy just has a great product.
The thing with Mike Lindell sheets, all of them, the fitted sheet at the bottom fits perfectly on the mattress. Every other sheet, you can't get the 4 corners on, and it's almost impossible. Even after having them for years and washing them, I don't know how many times, they still fit perfectly.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
You're probably going to be on the next My Pillow commercial, just so you know, okay?
Okay.
Okay, just to let you know.
You heard Lynn from Boynton. She loves her My Pillow sheets. Order yours right now at a huge discount. Use our promo code KANE, K-A-N-E, at checkout at mypillow.com.
Do you suffer from neuropathy? I did, until I went to Lighthouse Medical Center in Pompano. Numbness, pain, burning, tingling in my hands and feet, muscle weakness, loss of balance, muscle twitching have all but disappeared. Say goodbye to your neuropathy symptoms. Call Lighthouse Medical Center for a free consultation. 754-222-6642. Tell them Steve Kane sent you.
Now, back to the Steve Kane Show with Craig, celebrating 48.
All right, we're back. I'm Brian, Steve Kane Show. Oh, now before I get to that thing about Trump, because there's an important point to be made. I saw this. Did you see what happened to DeSantis in Tampa? Oh, this was over the weekend. If you follow DeSantis, okay, he's, it's really sad what's happened with DeSantis, okay? His wife and Jeb Bush and Columba Bush, that's Jeb's wife, destroyed his life. DeSantis would probably be the Attorney General of the United States right now. And he's going to be out of work in less than 2 years because he's term limited out of office. And, he got in, his wife got whispered in his ear, Trump's going to go to jail, you're going to be the guy. Jeb would put the pressure on him, and they did it, and he messed up. And no one will trust him again. And it's really a sad thing because DeSantis was like our big superstar. He was going places, and I no doubt in my mind he would be the Attorney General ahead of Pam Bondi right now if he did not do what it is he did. And DeSantis, he's been doing a lot of things to try to imitate Trump, right? Like, we don't have income tax in Florida, so we can't reduce or get rid of that. But he's talking about getting rid of property tax. He's doing very conservative things. I like the stuff he's doing, and I would love it if he got rid of property taxes. That would save me some money. And I know my mother, who's retired, would love that. Her house is paid for, but she's still got to pay property taxes, But he did something to try to act like Trump over the weekend, and it backfired. He went to a WWE match at the University of South Florida in Tampa. And let me play. I got to keep my finger. I listened to this twice. I didn't hear anything. So, but if something comes through and I miss it, just bang on the glass mic. I'll hit the dump button. But so, Trump goes into these WWE matches, and it's just, he goes in, he's got this entourage. He's got his, it's him. He's got Kid Rock. He's got Elon. He's got this, entourage, and the crowd goes nuts. And he does it time and time again. You would think by now the Democrats would buy like 10,000 tickets and try to get a booth thing going, but they haven't been doing that. But anyway, so DeSantis, who's going around trying to imitate Trump all the time, goes to the WWE, and it didn't turn out the same as it does for Trump. Listen. Oh, hold on. Got to turn. It helps if I turn the volume on, I think. Yes. It does. It says suck. It says, they said you suck, and they say it over and over again. You suck. And the whole, I don't know how this happened, but the entire arena was yelling at him, you suck, you suck. Listen to this. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis gets very surprising crowd reaction at WWE event in Tampa with a viral video showing DeSantis at WWE Saturday night main event on the University of South Florida campus has circulated throughout social media. Several of those clips contain audio in which chants of "you suck" can be heard. DeSantis is not used to that. Let me tell you, because he the whole time he's been governor, he's done a regular, almost weekly thing of events, and people love him, and they cheer him on, and everything else. That's the first time he's dealt with that. And I'll tell you this: if he showed up at the Republican convention next time around, it'd be the same reaction. Oh my goodness, I would love to have been with him when that was over, and he was with his wife. Oh man, I tell you, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Yeah, see there we say. I tell you, it's going to be one of those days. It's going to be one of those days. I tell you. What are you going to do? Okay, now let me get to this thing about not disagreeing with Trump, because something happened over the weekend, which you probably didn't catch in the news. Okay, and that is that Trump called up Laura Loomer and I had a talk with her about her criticism of things going on inside the Trump administration, including she was one of the people that was critical of the airplane. And she's not going to be doing that anymore. And that was an interesting thing. And, you know, the thing about disagreeing with Trump, okay, and how, you know, and I've been telling you guys, we can't be disagreeing with Trump, and, you know, no matter what happens, you got to stand by him and all of these things. Why is that? Why is that? Here's what you've got to understand when it comes to President Trump. This is not your typical presidency that's going on. You know, all these things that he's doing right now, right? Doge, trying to end this war with Russia and Ukraine, which is getting out of control. The big, beautiful bill, the no taxes on tips and the Social Security and all this stuff. All these things that he's doing, purging the transgender people out of the military, all these things, cutting off the money to Harvard, the deportation, shutting down the border. All these things he is doing is why they shot him in Butler. They were trying to stop him from doing all of these things that he's doing. Okay? All of them. So, yeah, exactly. And everything that he is doing, he's got his 4 years, unless we amend the Constitution, he can run again, okay? He's got his 4 years. We really have less than 2, because the midterms are an unknown. We may gain seats in the midterms, but historically, the party in charge always loses seats in the midterms. We may or may not, but how the midterms turn out, we don't know. We know we're in control right now. So no one should be criticizing Trump. Who's MAGA? No one should be criticizing Trump whatsoever. Right? We elected him to do all the things he's doing, and he sees a bigger picture that we all don't see. So you've got to go along with everything he's doing and everyone that he makes deals with, even if you don't particularly like that person, because he has this short window when we know he has a mandate and the power to get the things done that we want him to get done. Okay? Now, here's a thing that's going on right now, as an example. I don't usually talk about these individual bills that are going through Congress, but this one I'm talking about, the big beautiful bill, only because there are too many people following it and they don't understand what's going on. So we got the bill passed in the House, and now we got a whole bunch of Republican senators who are saying they're going to stop it, they're going to hold it up, they're going to filibuster, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, they're not going to allow it to be voted on, blah, 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 blah. You've got nothing to worry. Every single bill, no matter what, this one is just everybody's looking at it because it's the first one with Trump. Every single bill that goes through Congress, it does the same thing that they do here. The House passes it, it goes to the Senate. The Senate makes a whole bunch of changes. They send it back to the House votes on it, and then they get together with the Senate and make the final change. Send it back. What's going on now, even like what Lindsey Graham and some of the others are talking about, this is what happens with every single bill, not just this one. Okay? Now, the House, one of the things that they're saying is that President Trump lied. A lot of Republicans are saying this. The no tax on Social Security didn't pass. I did not know this, and I don't think President Trump knew this either during the campaign, or he would have said it in a different way. Okay? They have these very, very strange rules in the House of Representatives. They are not allowed to make changes to Social Security in these House bills. I don't know why that is, but they have some House rule. They're not able to cut the tax. I know this is so academic, isn't it? But there's so much misinformation going on out there that I have to, I guess, correct or put in context some of these academic things that I normally would not even follow. Okay? You have nothing to worry about. Trump's in charge. Everything's going to get done. They're not allowed to cut the taxes on Social Security. It's a House rule. So what they did is added, it's a $4,500. It's either $4,000 or $4,500. I can't remember off the top of my head. They put in a tax credit, so everyone on Social Security gets another $4,500 deduction off of their taxes if they're on Social Security. That's more money than most people would be paying in taxes on their Social Security, because most people don't pay taxes on their Social Security, and very few do. So it's the equivalent of having no taxes on your Social Security, and actually a little extra money for people based on what their income level is. I know it seems like we're talking about accounting, and maybe in a way we are, but he got that through. Don't let them tell you he didn't get the cut on the Social Security taxes through. These are one of those things with this the big beautiful bill that you just have to sit back and wait. It'll all be done. Wait until they're all done with it and they send it to Trump, and then we'll find out. And Trump will either sign it or send it back, veto it. But they don't have the final bill yet. Even Trump said yesterday, to the senators, he said, make whatever changes you want. He said yesterday. So you got to understand, the Trump haters are going to grab onto any little thing they can find to go after him on and say, oh, he didn't do this, he didn't do that, oh, he failed here, this isn't going to make it. They're all the doomsayers, and they're always going to jump on anything they can jump on to be critical of him. It's fine. Now, I want to tell you guys about Coastal Weight Loss Secret. I'm wearing a shirt today. This shirt is many, many years old. I don't know how old it is. But, this shirt here, before I went to Coastal Weight Loss Secret, was one of those shirts that really could have been classified as a girdle because it was so tight on me because of my stomach. And I bought this shirt. I've had this shirt for many years, over 10 years, this shirt I've had. And I haven't worn it too much in the last few years because it really didn't fit. But I kept it. And the couple times I have worn it is just because I grabbed it in the closet in the dark and put it on, didn't realize it, and I'm leaving, and I'm like, oh, well, whatever. But this shirt was so tight on me, it was form-fitting. Now it's loose, and it fits like it's supposed to fit, like when I bought it years and years ago. Call Coastal Weight Loss Secret, okay? It works. And remember, I'm not taking any prescription medications like Ozempic. And it seems every day I read another story negative about it. I saw one celebrity today. I was in an interview. There's something new called Ozempic smell. The people that take an Ozempic have a smell too. Oh, that sounds great. Oh yeah, the Ozempic tongue, the Ozempic face, the Ozempic smell. That doesn't sound like anything I want to get involved in. With Coastal Weight Loss Secret, I'm not taking any prescription medications. I'm not doing any exercises, and I'm eating food I would normally eat. Like I had lunch with my daughter. I ate at the food court at the mall. Okay, come on. I ate at where did we eat? Shake Shack. Okay, So yeah, so I'm eating foods I would normally eat, no exercise, and no prescription medications, and it works. I've lost 37 plus pounds. Okay, it's absolutely amazing. Losing weight is not impossible, and I'm not hungry all the time. It's I was really literally in shock at how effortless the whole process of losing weight is with Coastal Weight Loss Secret. Give them a call. Now, when you call, make sure you tell them you heard about them on the True Oldies channel, 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. And online, coastalweightlossecret.com. We'll be right back.
Let me ask you this. Are you planning on retiring in the next 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, at any point in your life? Or are you already retired? Listen, economically, it's a mess. With the stock market ups and downs and inflation out of control. In fact, it's the highest inflation rate in 40 years. You need a plan of action for your retirement plans. You need the advice of a retirement expert who can help you protect your money, guarantee your income, and stop losing money. Joe Thomas is president of Retirement Network Advisors, South Florida's premier retirement expert, and has been for over 20 years. He's seen it all and is a true professional that you can trust. They're family-owned and operated. His daughter Ginny works with him. You know Joe and Ginny from right here on True Oldies. He's the host of the Jupiter Joe Money Show. He's been doing that for over a decade. You need Jupiter Joe's book, The Retirement Know-It-All. Mention my name, Brian Craig, and receive a free copy of his ebook. Go to jupiterjoe.com or call 561-743-0999. That's 561-743-0999. Take advantage of his free phone consultation to, go to JupiterJoe.com or call 561-743-0999.
You hold along.
This is Steve Kane. I want to tell you about my favorite restaurant in all of South Florida, Wings Plus in Coral Springs. Wings just the way you like them. Plump, tender, and delicious, crispy on the outside, succulent on the inside, everything homemade, nothing comes out of the can. Dozens of specialty sauces that will make your mouth water. Wings Plus, located in Coral Springs, a mile west of University on the south side of Central Road.
We take on the social justice warriors for breakfast. Now,
All right. We are back. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to the Steve Kane Show. Okay. So, Jake Tapper and his co-author are doing a lot of interviews. And actually, some big things have been coming out about inside the Biden. I'm still unclear exactly why Jake Tapper is doing this all of a sudden. But anyway, on Fox News Sunday, you know, the Sunday, I know it's Tuesday. We usually talk about what happened on the Sunday shows on Monday, but yesterday was a holiday. Shannon Bream interviewed the co-author of Jake Tapper's book. And I wonder if the co-author is like a ghostwriter. Who do you think? Do you think Tapper did all? I don't know. But this is his co-author. And this was just fantastic. It was on Fox News. But because of the holiday weekend, it's gotten really no play. And I wish he would have gone on Fox News Sunday like this Sunday, when it's not a holiday weekend, so everyone would be talking about it. So this is the co-author, and what he talked about, well, let me just play, then we'll talk about it. Listen. And then Jake Tapper did an interview where he dropped some big information that might explain why he's doing this, okay? So anyway, this is Jake Tapper's co-author on Fox News Sunday with
You quote a
Shannon
longtime
Bream.
Biden aide basically admitting he shouldn't be running again. They said to you on page 85, he just had to win, and then he could disappear for 4 years. He'd only have to show proof of life every once in a while. His aides could pick up the slack. Who would have been running the White House in a second Biden term?
Well, this person went on to say that when you're voting for a president, you're voting for the aides around him. But these aides were not even Senate confirmed aides. These are White House aides. These were unelected people. And one of the things that really, I think, comes out in our reporting here is that if you believe, and I think a lot of these people do sincerely believe, that Donald Trump was and is an existential threat to democracy, you can rationalize anything, including sometimes doing undemocratic things, which I think is what this person is talking about.
Okay, so what he went on to say is they had an entire plan for Biden's, because they figured if they got him reelected, now this is before they plugged in Kamala, but that the staff had and the staff, by the way, has been named. People that are doing this, and it's all come out through these interviews of Jake Tapper's book, right? Who's been running the country, right? They said that Hunter was basically the chief of staff, and the president was Jill, but they had a committee. Isn't that crazy? They had a committee with Anita Dunn, who worked for Obama, and she worked for Biden. Ron Klain, who was the White House chief of staff. The White House counsel. Now, the White House counsel is the one who was illegally coordinating with Fani Willis. Remember Fani Willis in Fulton County? Her boyfriend went to Washington to meet with him a couple times. And then there's another guy who is Obama's personal lawyer. And this was the committee of 6 that were running the country. And I can't play the Tapper bit because it was an online interview and he dropped the F-bomb a couple times, and it's not worth me going in to bleep it out, so I'm going to tell you what he said in a minute. The thing with the committee, though, and what this guy went on to tell Shannon Bream later in some detail, what they planned on doing is they told themselves that if Biden gets reelected and they don't have to worry about another reelection, they don't have to pretend he's running things as much. So they openly said amongst themselves in front of many staffers, they would bring him out on occasion just as a proof of life, and they would be running the country. And what he said there at the end, if you convince yourself that Trump's a dictator, whatever you do to stop him is justified, right? And this goes into those that were behind Butler. Nothing could convince me that their plan was for Butler to turn out the opposite that it did, give Nikki Haley the nomination because she was number 2 in the number of delegates, have Ron DeSantis, who was in 3rd place in the primaries, be her running mate as vice president, and we'd be at war with Iran right now. That was their plan. And I don't know how, I'm not saying Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis are in on it. I doubt they have to brief those clowns on that. But I realized this, if you remember during the Tea Party, there was a big issue. I've forgotten the woman's name, but she was the head of the IRS, and they were auditing the Tea Party people. Remember this? And they had congressional hearings about this, and they basically said it. They did it because they thought they were evil. So they've convinced themselves that Trump's a dictator, that he's all these things. So, and you heard what he said to Shannon Bream. If you convince yourself of that, whatever you do to stop Trump is justified. Whether it's Butler or arresting him or suing him or getting involved with Latifah, doing all these things. And that's the head they were in. And all this stuff is coming out. Now, there's a lot of people that have these fantasies that the pardons are going to be rescinded. That's not going to happen. Okay? Not only are they not going to happen, even if they expose that he didn't know about them with the auto pen, none of the pardons are going to be rescinded. They're all going to remain in place because they're not going to set that precedent. So don't get yourself involved in that. But Bongino over the weekend, he announced an investigation they're doing, which is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard come out of this. And that was this. Bongino announced that they're reopening the investigation of the cocaine at the White House. That's a waste of that. That interview that he did a couple weekends ago with Bartiromo, was it last weekend or the weekend before? He has gotten so much negative feedback from MAGA world on that. Let me tell you, that interview that he did, I don't know if I've seen a public official do an interview that was as damaging as Bongino was damaged by that interview. It was devastating. And what's happened is people have been putting together clips of him talking about all these things that he said there's nothing to see here from his radio show. And he's under a lot of pressure. So this cocaine investigation, which is a 100% complete waste of time, okay, and I'll tell you why in a moment. To me, it looks like Bongino's trying to save face, like, hey, listen, I'm doing something. The reason that the cocaine story is not going anywhere is because when the Secret Service and the FBI did their phony investigation, and this was widely reported, when they concluded their phony investigation, they destroyed the cocaine and the baggie. So there's no evidence. There's no evidence for them to fingerprint. There's nothing. All the evidence has been destroyed. So whatever investigation they do is going to be at best inconclusive because there's no evidence. And I promise you, the video surveillance, that's gone too. But we know for a fact, because they said at the time, it was the Secret Service and the FBI, they destroyed the cocaine and the baggie after they got a partial DNA sample off of it. And, so that's going nowhere. That's a waste of time for Bongino. I saw a conservative guy over the weekend, and he made such a great point. on one of the shows. He said Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino, they're going after the regular criminals, which we want them to do, but they're not going after any of the criminals who were committing crimes against Trump. And that's true. And this cocaine in the White House, that's just to look like you're doing something. If I had my choice for Bongino to investigate, it wouldn't be that, because the evidence has been destroyed. Judge Mershon in New York. Judge Mershon, he's the one with the phony convictions. His daughter raised $100 million. We talked about this through the whole trial from Democrats for her fundraising campaign or fundraising company. She raised $100 million, of which she gets a commission on all that money, and she's a partner in the firm. Mershon kept empty seats reserved for the daughter so she could bring Democrat clients in so they could sit there and watch Trump on trial. So he literally, through his daughter, was selling seats to the trial. That seems like some low-hanging fruit. And Kash Patel and said, give us 1 or 2 weeks. We're more than a week in, and we don't have jack. Okay? We got to give him till Monday next week for the full 2 weeks to be here. Although that gives him 2.5 weeks because that interview was recorded like Friday or Saturday before. You know? But we still have nothing. And the question about Bongino is, because we were talking about this after the interview last week, we thought he was going to be like Tom Homan, you know, knocking down doors and everything else. And I'm starting to think that he's just a complete poser, that this tough guy cop act is just an act, that he's an office cubicle kind of federal agent. And I'm wondering if he even knows how to go out and do things. Tom Homan's out there literally knocking doors in, literally. And maybe Bongino doesn't know how to do that. But this investigation he announced over the weekend is just going to make things worse for him. We'll take our break for the top. When we get back, Steve will be joining us. Our number 1-888-465-2631. I'm going to recap some of the things with Steve about Putin and Ukraine, because some big things are going on there, and we're in a very dangerous time. Our number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631. You're listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio, and in August will be the 49th year. That's crazy. I know, it's a long time. All right, we'll be back right after our top of the hour break. Yep.
Anyone call you about 96.9?
Yeah, a lot of people. I just got a text from Al Knight about it.
Yeah, I'm headed down there now. I wish you would have told me when I got here.
Oh, I mentioned it to Mike earlier. I thought he might have told you. Yeah, we got a call on the air about it.
Brian, I'll call you on the way. I'm going to go down there. I think it's after we reboot the internet.
All right, yeah, just give me a call about that other thing.
Yeah.
We'll All right. Okay, what's going on? Oh, okay. Anything in particular? Okay. Yeah. All right, hold on. Okay.
Don't waste hours and hours waiting at the doctor's office or one of those big labs. Go to any lab test now in Boca and any lab test now in Coral Springs. Their prices are guaranteed to be the lowest you'll find anywhere. No appointment, doctor's order, or prescription is needed. And you're in and out in 15 minutes or less. They offer every lab and blood work your doctor could order. They even have drug testing and STD testing. Take control of your health care and visit any lab test now with Boca and any lab test now with Coral Springs. There's lots of any lab test nows around, but these are the only two advertising on our radio station. So don't use the rest. Only go to any lab test now with Boca and any lab test now with Coral Springs. And make sure you tell them you heard about them on the radio.
Unbelievable.
At the same location and offering great deals on new and used tires. I have many suppliers. Whatever car or truck you have, I can get you incredible deals on any tire. I also do tire repairs at very low prices. Give me a call. My number is 954-977-9445. I will give you a price over the phone on new and used tires. Again, my number is 954-977-9445. Thank you.
On the air since 1977, it's the Steve Kane Show.
All right, the third hour has begun. I'm Brian. Steve Kane joining us. Hey, Steve.
Hey, how are you doing today?
Better than Macron. Oh my goodness.
Goodness, what a wild story.
Well, have you seen the video of it?
No.
Oh my goodness.
It was in the New York Post.
You know, I've had the sad occasion of knowing some people that smack each other around that are couples. I've seen it happen. Have you? Ever?
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah, well, I get, I travel in different circles, I guess. But no, I've seen it. No, I've seen it. And it's not a pretty sight. But, the thing about, what we're talking about is Macron's wife. She used both hands and slapped him across the face and actually shoved his face with the bottom of her hand, too.
That's the subject of the article in the Post today. But the background on the case, the history of the case is the bizarre thing. You know the history of it, right?
Yeah, she's a Mary Kay Letourneau type.
Exactly right. And in the French, these people are crazy.
Well, she was his teacher, and their relationship began when he was 15. And
40.
Yeah, something like around 40, and he was 15. Yeah.
The president of France,
Well, the thing about it is, and by the way, I'm not friends with people that beat up their wives or anything, but I've seen couples get into fights, and I've seen a wife or two slap the husband. I've seen that out and about at clubs and bars and stuff like that. There's usually been alcohol involved. But of the people I've known, and I think this is true of there's some couple. All of us know couples that fight, right? I mean, I'm sure you know couples that fight, Steve.
I know. Yes.
I mean, like all the time. And what I have found. Now that doesn't mean that my wife and I don't have some disagreements and get some words are said on occasion. That happens with any when you're married a long time. That's what happens, right? But we're not talking about that. We're talking about like knockout, drag out fights. We're talking about when things get physical, like Macron and his wife. And from my experience, that's like a daily occurrence with couples like that. Couples that get into those nasty fights, that's every day. And
story, I mean, it's still.
Well, I haven't gotten to the end of it yet. And when they get physical, that's also a regular thing. And she did not do that in private. The cameras caught it by accident, but she did it on the airplane that has a whole bunch of people, including their whole staff on it, which shows that it's something that's normal and acceptable in front of their staff. And what you have with Macron is you have a guy who at the age of 15, and maybe even younger, but certainly at 15, has been sexually abused and abused by this predator, which is his wife. And yeah, I mean, and it's really scary when you think about it, right?
But what does it say about the people of France that they elected this guy as their president?
Well, the French are known to be perverts, right? I mean,
If there was any question before this, there's no question remaining.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. But no, I mean, and see, but I was talking about this. This fits in, though, to some of the problems we're having with what happened with Macron. Because obviously, he's an abused man, and he's not in his right head. I mean, and we're on the verge of World War III in Europe. because what's going on with Russia and Ukraine could escalate into a major full European war on a dime with what's going on. And Macron has always, if you remember, President Trump at the Pope's funeral confronted Zelensky, right? They had this private thing, and immediately Zelensky was calling Macron over to be his wingman to help, and Trump told Macron to get out of here. Macron is really tight with Zelensky. And right now with this, you know, Putin is saying that there was an assassination attempt on him over the weekend, which probably is not true, but that's his story. And with things escalating like this, Macron
was that his excuse for lighting up the skies with bombs?
Yeah, Putin said that over 100, different reports give different numbers, okay? I saw one report that said over 1,000 drones. I saw one that said 143, and I saw another one that said 48 drones. So the number of drones varies based on the story. But Putin said that Ukrainian drones attacked his helicopter while he was on it. And of course, the brave Russian pilot and defense systems took all the drones down, even though it was an overwhelming attack. I don't believe that there was an assassination attempt on him with the drones, not by Ukraine. I don't believe it. Not because I trust Zelensky, but if they use drones to try to assassinate Putin, that means they were using U.S. drones, right, and U.S. weapons to do it. And Trump would be freaking out right now of Zelensky for doing something so stupid. So here's the problem in this slap. This slap could cause the Third World War, and I don't think I'm exaggerating. No European leader is closer to Zelensky than Macron, and Macron right now is really in a desperate situation to look like a man, because his wife beat the tar out of him yesterday on the plane.
System's collapsed.
Yeah. So with Macron having to prove that he's butch and not an abused man, that's the kind of dangerous thing that has him pushing Zelensky to do some major response and escalate the war. It's a really dangerous situation going on right now. Things are, Steve, there could be any moment a massive war could break out over there beyond this kind of little, I know it's not little, but it could spread real quick with what's going on. Trump's done with Putin. Trump said on Saturday, Putin's lost his mind. He said he's crazy.
Let me say this, okay? I'm about to blaspheme, so in advance, if the kids are in the room, I want to turn off the radio. But
no, don't turn off the radio, guys. Whatever you do, don't turn off the radio.
What I'm about to say you're going to disagree with. But I think of late, and I am not one to second guess our fearless president, because nobody has more respect for the president than I do. But I must say it's getting time for him. He's letting too many people get away with too much. And starting with I was watching Mark Levin over the weekend. I'm with Mark Levin on this Israel thing. I mean, there's no question.
Well, what does that mean? What is he saying over the weekend?
We've been saying the same thing he always did. We're playing with dynamite. We're sitting here letting them sweet talk us in negotiations.
Talking about Iran?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Mark Levin. I'm glad he's not the national security. So he wants to go to war with Iran while we're about to go to war with Russia. That sounds smart.
Oops.
Yeah, well, it doesn't.
I disagree with anything Trump does, but I just disagree on that. And I think he's weak on this response.
Why is it smart to start a war with Iran when we're on the verge of having a war with Russia? That seems crazy to me.
Whatever happened to what do they call it when they have financial put down financial
sanctions?
Yes.
No, it's not going to work. Steve, when have sanctions worked? I mean, we have had sanctions on Cuba for like 60 years, you know?
It's something I mean, I think my friend is going crazy.
We have sanctions now on Russia. We have, if you have...
sanctions.
That'll do nothing. Sanctions will do... I don't know of a single instance when economic sanctions have caused a country to collapse and say, okay, I'm not going to... One of these dictators to do something.
Recent developments in terms of the Iran nuke situation and in terms of this thing with Putin running amok, I hate to say this, but I'm afraid that Don is looking weak on this. Blasphemy, but that's how I'm starting.
Well, what's he supposed to do with Putin? I mean, there's not much to do. Sanctions? Oh, that sounds weak.
They're very vulnerable right now. Their economy is in shards.
Yeah, that's not going to do anything. I mean, that's a symbolic thing. He'll do that, but that's symbolic. Well, he was asked, what's he supposed to say? I mean, they asked him when he got off the plane. They asked him about the assassination attempt. Yeah.
Statement.
Well, and he also mentioned about the sanctions. I know it's the whole thing with Russia. There's nothing that really can be done. Nothing. I don't know if they have. I've been telling you this. I've been hearing since Bush was president that they're a month away from a nuclear weapon. So I don't know if they have them.
They drop it on Israel?
They're not going to drop it on Israel.
Guaranteed?
If they had it, then they would take them out. The fact that they haven't taken them out shows that they don't have them to take out, is what I would think. Iran has assassination squads after Trump. Believe me, if he could bomb them, if there was a reason to bomb him, he would do it. But the biggest problem we have, though, right now, I'm telling you, it's not Iran. Okay? The biggest I don't know, is Mark Levin trying to be an honored guest of Netanyahu in Israel or something? Does he want to visit Israel and be treated like a national hero? And I love these guys that aren't in the military, and no one in their family's in the military like him, and they want everybody to go to war. It's very, very brave of Mark Levin to run his mouth like that.
They're going to war.
Well, it could. Iran and Russia are allies. They're allies. Putin has allies. Russia, Iran, China, North Korea. It's an escalation. It's an escalation. It's a major escalation. Well, see, this is the whole thing I was telling you about, Steve. Trump walked into an incredibly dangerous situation. We have both of these instances we're talking about, Iran and Russia and Ukraine. Either of them could turn into World War III on a dime. And when you look at the reactions that we've gotten from Putin over the weekend, he is not stable. You can tell he's not stable. And, oh no, they're always nuts. But they got no button. I don't think they have a button to do much with. They would take them out. We have spies all over there. If they had an operational nuclear missile, we would take it out. We wouldn't let them have it. Yeah. But Putin's getting ready to do something. And I think what might be going on is, if there was an assassination attempt, it was probably his own military. It was probably a coup inside his own government or military. If there was an assassination attempt, because they said it was not last week, the week before, when Trump was in the Middle East, they were trying to set up a summit meeting in Turkey, remember, with Putin and Zelensky. And Putin didn't go, and it was reported in many places that Putin was afraid to leave Russia because there's too much instability in the government. Like, he was afraid, like he would be assassinated. Yeah.
The audience feels on this particular question about
Trump's response over the weekend, both in terms of and in terms of what's going on.
You want people to bash Trump?
I want to see if the audience is all as seemingly brainwashed. I don't like to use that term on my partner, but I mean,
Not brainwashed. I'm trusting. Listen, we're gonna take. Okay. Okay, if they have them. All right. Well, let's check in with your attorney from the Siegel Law Group, Attorney Barry Siegel. Good morning. All right, Barry. What do you have for us this morning?
Well, first of all, I hope everyone had a nice celebration on the day off and the long weekend. Memorial Day, of course, we remember the people who helped us give us the freedoms and served in our military, and so thank you to all of those who served. And so we're thinking about the legacy of these people, and that's really estate planning. A big part of it is planning your legacy, and a big part of it, we always talk about leaving your assets, making sure you have the right people, making sure it's done the right way. But a big part of it too is making sure that the legacy that you leave is a good one, and that the way that you had your plan set up did not leave a mess behind, so that the last thing that your loved ones remember is that you were not organized, you didn't set things up properly, and you left them a big mess that could have taken months and years and a huge amount of expense, when it could have been set up properly and in a way that would make life easier for everyone. They'd get their inheritances quickly, there'd be minimal or no costs involved in the process. It wouldn't be public, it would be private. So for all of those reasons, that's why it's important to make sure that you have an estate plan. And not only, you may have done an estate plan at one point, but it's always a good idea to review it to make sure that it's up to date with your current situation and make sure that it's going to work when the time comes that you need it to work, either at the time of, God forbid, incapacity or at the time that we're no longer here.
Yeah, and not only do you, every 3 years, you reach out to clients to review their revocable living trust because things change, but you also offer free consultations when people call and mention they heard you on the program to review their documents as well. And, it's amazing. I think a lot of people have what might be considered a revocable living trust in name only, meaning so many things in their life have changed, right?
And they may have a trust, like you said, in name only, but not have their assets funded. It's not going to help them avoid probate.
Yeah, that's right. If they're not funded into the trust, they got to go through probate. So there's all kinds of messes that can be avoided if you call the Siegel Law Group. Now remember, the Siegel Law Group can help you no matter where you're located in the state of Florida, and it's always a no-charge consultation with the Siegel Law Group if you mention you heard Attorney Barry Siegel on the program. Here's the toll-free number, 855-FLA-3782. 855-FLA-3782, and online, SiegelLawGroup.com. All right, Attorney Barry Siegel, we will talk later in the week. Okay, all right, we're back. Let me give the number out, Steve. There's a couple of things I wanted to run by you. If you have any thoughts, our number is 1-888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. I think we got a lot of hangover people in the audience, but based on some of the calls I've gotten today. Memorial Day, there's more drunk drivers on the roads on Memorial Day than any other day of the year because it always falls on a Monday. So it's a big drinking weekend. So, it's I know. And a lot of people hung over today. But if you heard some of the callers earlier, you know exactly what I mean. But anyway, our number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. There's two different things here we're talking about, the Iran thing and the Ukraine thing, and they're both important. But I just to focus in on Ukraine, because Mark Levin, I'm not a fan of Mark Levin, Steve. I'm sorry, I'm not. I used to be a long time ago, and I don't care for him anymore. And no, well, his television show is terminally boring to me.
television.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy. Really? Come on. His television show? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You know, the format, Rush Limbaugh was the greatest, right? But that television show we did was remember his TV show? Oh my goodness. It was not like the radio show. And
It was not
not on that TV show. No, and it didn't last very long. And that is how Mark Levin's TV show is, but worse. It's like it's I just find it boring. I'm sorry, you know, and I rarely, and my dislike of him may cloud my opinion on the things that he says because I don't like him. You know.
It's one thing to be pro-Trump. I'm pro-Trump, and I like to think about it as pro-Trump as you can get and still be totally realistic. But you've got to maintain some kind of objectivity when something is so obvious. I mean, it's you can't adopt a policy that says when they wipe Israel off the map, that's when we're going to do something about it. Which is basically the foreign policy of the president right now.
Nah, I'm not worried about that. What I am worried about, we're worried about different things because you watched Mark Levin last night, so Mark Levin's got you worried about Iran, and I don't think you got anything to worry about. That's why Trump went to the Middle East. That's why he went to the Middle East and made friends with all these Middle Eastern people that are that have contacts in Iran. I'm not worried about it. I'm no worry. I am not worried about. Oh, yeah. But the problem we have with, you know, this thing with Iran's been ongoing for 20 years, this nuclear thing. The problem we have with Russia is things are erratic there now. And I saw Putin on television twice over the weekend, and then I saw the interview with his helicopter pilot, and they translate all of it. And he looks not just erratic, but there's something going on there. There's just something that's not right. And when you've got him who's I think there's a coup going on in his own country he's trying to stop. Yeah.
Danger to the United States right now, Russia or Iran?
Oh, that's easy. Yeah, Russia. Yeah, that whole thing. That's yeah.
Figure if there's going to be a nuclear attack.
There's not going to be a nuclear attack.
Well, how do you know?
Come on.
Are you saying that in Iran as well?
I'm talking about Iran. There's not going to be any nuclear attack from Iran. No, I don't believe so.
You base that on what? On the word of
the only person that's screaming about it is Mark Levin.
There are a lot of people concerned about it.
Nah, I don't think so. No, they're not suicidal, and they know what would happen if they did that. They'd be suicidal.
The Ayatollahs are not suicidal.
Correct. No, they don't go out and do the suicide bombings.
The Islam thing is a suicide.
They find patsies to do that. Nobody that's high up goes out and puts on a suicide vest, a bomb vest.
The people that are going to launch this thing are not.
No, they're not suicidal. Putin is not mentally stable right now.
Suicide bomber is suicidal?
A suicide bomber is not Iran launching a nuclear. Oh, we're going around in circles, Steve. You got to stop watching Mark Levin. He's yeah.
By taking anything that and just stop.
No. I just don't think there's a. Anyone take some calls? It's time for a break, but let's see if we can. Some of the calls earlier made me not want to take calls, so let's see if we can raise the bar. Well, we'll take a call first. We'll take a call. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? See what I mean, Steve? The great yeah. You're on the air.
Oh, shoot. You always get me next. This is my
All right, Milo, what's on your mind?
All right. Well, I'm going to put this out there that I think, the war in Ukraine is all about Trump against Vladimir Putin. First of all, those drones are Ukrainian-made. They make all their own drones right now. Trump is in charge of whatever Zelensky does. Doesn't go, is approved by Donald Trump. He's gone after Putin's oil. I mean, he's.
Oh, you think? Okay. So hold on a second. Okay, hold on a second. You think that Ukraine tried to assassinate Putin with the drones, and that Trump signed off on it?
No, I who knows if Vladimir really was in the helicopter, but he went through a swarm of drones. I don't buy that he was anywhere near those drones. And maybe I'm not saying I can totally see.
Well, this is what I'm trying to figure out. You're gonna think I'm trying to figure out. You called us to make a point, and I'm trying to. What's the main idea of what you're trying to communicate? Because I've missed it.
The main idea is that we're at the very beginning of World War III.
Yes, we are.
Trump and Putin hate each other. Okay. What Trump wants to happen is just like the rest of the world wars is, I think right now he wants manufacturing to be up and going strong in the United States. When Putin ends up going into Lithuania and NATO is forced Article 5, we're supplying this war.
Oh, okay. Slow down. So you think this is nuts? You think President Trump wants a war with Russia? That's correct. I agree with that. Yes, correct. Yeah.
This war, World War III is inevitable.
Oh, that's great. Oh, I appreciate the call. Oh my goodness. I don't know. What do you think, Steve? World War III is inevitable. Really? We're 3 minutes late for the break. No, you could have jumped in. You could have jumped in and say,
Where he comes from.
I doubt that. All right, I'm going to put you on hold. We'll take our break, and we'll be back.
Making morning radio great again. I think you're going to really love it. It's the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig.
Hey, it's Scott on the radio reminding you that your favorite oldies are back on the air.
Oh, hey, what's going on? Good. Do you have anything in particular you wanted me to get to today?
Anything. I'm kind of tired.
I hear you. Me too.
I don't drink, but it was a crazy weekend, man.
I did a lot this weekend too. Yeah.
I was cleaning my office out, moving offices.
You're moving over here or no?
I'm moving into Jupiter. I was going to move over here, but I ended up moving into Jupiter.
Oh, okay.
So, it's a little further for people down south, but, if they're going to come see me, they're going to come see me,
Well, how many times do they have to physically meet?
Once or twice.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like the old days.
So what do you think, the end of the world is happening? We were just talking about that. I remember when I was a kid, same stuff was going on. History repeats itself, But I do like the Macron with the white beat.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't see the video.
Oh, she nailed him really hard. A couple times, then she slapped him both hands and then pushed him in the face.
What was it about?
No. They were on the plane. They didn't know you could see it. The camera caught it through the door of the plane.
They're going to say she was messing around.
No, it was pretty brutal.
I always thought he was kind of...
And then he noticed they could see it on camera, and then his face lit up. He was smiling then,
Oh, there you go. I didn't know that story, though. 15? I had no idea.
Oh, yeah, she's a child molester. 15. The age of consent in France is 15. I'm so,
So, she's 25 years older than you?
I think maybe we're like 28.
28 years older. Wow. That's pretty big. I never knew this stuff. Yeah. Interesting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, she was his teacher.
I heard you saying that. It's crazy. By the way, I was listening to the Bongino replay. I didn't hear the whole. I heard some of it, walking the dog and everything. And you know what I find when I seen both interviews that Laura Ingraham did.
Yeah.
Or at least one of them. No, Laura Ingraham did one, and I think what's her name did. Maria Ballaramo. I think they don't like each other.
Who?
Bongino and
Prakash Patel?
Yeah, I don't think they like each other. You can see it, you know.
I don't. Maybe he doesn't like Bongino. Doesn't like taking orders from him.
That's what it is. You can just see the tension between the two of them. It's not. They're not simpatico at all.
No, no, they're not a team.
No. It seems like he's like sorry he got. I don't know. Bongino just looks like, you know.
But they're doing damage. If they don't arrest somebody, they're going to be. He's not going to go back to his show.
Yeah.
Where are you calling from?
How can it not be, you know, taking care of some of this stuff?
Yeah.
It should have been done already, you know. Listen, like Mike said.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Do people use this when you're not here?
Not that I know. I don't know how many people use the studio.
I never used it. So what do you do this weekend?
Yeah, I did a lot. I'm a little tired today. It's one of those days. My daughter moved back to Florida from Los Angeles, so that was nice. The price, the cost of living was driving her nuts.
Yeah. She have a job down here?
She works online, so she can work from anywhere.
That's awesome.
But I guess she realized she'd never be able to buy a house out there. Even millionaires rent in Los Angeles. It's crazy.
My cousin lives in LA, but now they actually bought another house in South Carolina.
Yeah, just too
expensive. They want to
expensive.
get out of it. He's an attorney, and he's so scared of using the wrong pronoun.
Oh.
They'll put you in jail.
Yeah.
You lose your license, they put you in jail.
Oh, yeah. Oh. All right, and we're back on this Tuesday after Memorial Day. Jupiter Joe Thomas in studio. Hey, Joe.
Hey.
You know, we've been talking about World War III, basically end time stuff.
Yeah.
But no matter what happens, if you have your money into an annuity, you'll be fine.
You're fine.
So that's okay. You'll have your money. It'll be fine.
Well, you know, me and Mike, the engineer, were talking before we went on, and I was saying because he's younger than me, of course, and I was saying when we were younger, the same stuff was going on. It just seems it's amplified today with all the media stuff going on. And then you got this, just everything, man. It's just a whole different world that we live in.
Well, when I was growing up, you're a little older than me, but not that much. But I just assumed when I was a kid that we were going to have a nuclear war with Russia, right? They used to basically tell us that, right?
Get under the desk.
You get under the desk, and they had that. Remember that movie, The Day After?
Yeah.
You know, and it was okay. One day there'll be a nuclear war. Well, you know, it's inevitable. But then we moved beyond it. But here we are again, and it's the same. It's the same. But you know, what I've learned as I've grown older is that all of these things, it's all about money.
Yeah.
That's all it really is about. It's always about money. Not even most ego. It's mostly about money. Now, let me ask you this, because what I wonder, because I've known financial advisors, had some over the years. Financial advisors, when things happen, when you're involved in stocks and things like this, and I know other people have had this happen. You can't get your financial advisor on the phone.
Yeah.
And they're hiding from you.
Yeah.
Is what they're doing.
Especially if the market's going down.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
they're not going to call you.
No, I mean they're hiding from you. And I had a financial advisor. I did all my transactions through the receptionist, basically, right? It's who you call. But with what you're doing, the type of financial advisor you are with annuities, you don't get those kind of panic calls from people,
I get them
do
once
you?
in a while, and they kind of confirm with Joe, are you sure I can't lose any money? And I say, no, you can't lose any money. And they find it hard to believe, but that's the way an annuity works. Now, we don't sell variable annuities. We only sell fixed and fixed index.
Well, what's a variable?
So a variable annuity is one that is tied to the stock market.
Oh, forget that.
Yeah, so you can lose money in those, and we don't offer those to clients. And by the way, the advisor's not going to call you when the market's going down. They're not going to say, hey, you need to reposition your money. Hold the course. Stay the course.
Yeah.
And that's fine for some people, but when you're losing 20%, now look, this tariff stuff, it's going to be good eventually, but it's back and forth. Now, the market happens to be up tremendously today, and it's a good time to buy still, because I still think the market's going to go up.
Yeah.
But have a percentage of your money in something that you can't lose money.
And it's really bad now for people because everybody has their investment portfolio. It's on they got an app and it's on their phone. So they're checking all day. Oh my goodness, I just lost $39,000. What am I going to do? But with annuities, the thing about annuities that's amazing to me is not only is your money not at risk, but you have this guaranteed income for the rest of your life. How does that work? Okay, so you've got the income. We mentioned that a lot. How do people get it? How often do they get it? And where does the money go? How does it work?
So most people will put a lump sum of money in, and then they'll tell me when they want income. They're going to retire in a year, 2 years, 3 years, and they say, Joe, I want my income to start this date. and they'll either start monthly income, quarterly, semi-annual, or annual. We direct deposit into your account, and once it starts, Brian, it's for the rest of their lives. And if they pass away, it goes to their spouse for the rest of their lives.
So it's like you can get a deposit in your bank account every
Yep.
month if you want.
Yep.
But if you're not taking it, okay, I don't want to take any income right now. I don't need it for whatever reason. I'm working. What happens to that money that would have been income then?
It's growing. It's growing. Every year, for example, that one account that I have that I love, it's 8.25% buildup. So every year, just like, Social Security goes up, the longer you wait, the more money it is.
It goes into the annuity?
It goes into the annuity. It's building.
Okay, so say you get your income your revenue would be like $1,000 a month.
Mhm.
So that money is going into the annuity?
Yeah, if you wait, it goes to $1,250, then $1,500.
Oh my goodness.
So it's growing and growing. Every year, you're incented not to take your money. The longer you let your money grow, the bigger the payment's going to be.
It's like Social Security. The longer you wait to take it, the more you get.
Exactly. And here, we've talked about Social Security before. To the penny, you know how much your Social Security payment's going to be. Well, with an annuity with me, you're going to know to the penny how much that payment's going to be.
Here's the thing, and I'm gonna give out your number. Remember, Joe Thomas offers free phone consultations, which you can take advantage of no matter where you're located in the United States. And Joe Thomas is going to put together a custom proposal just for you based on your situation, your goals, your financial situation, and all of that. It is a custom proposal just for you and your situation. But a lot of times when you're talking with financial advisors that do the stocks and everything, okay, and I don't expect you to. I'm going to say, they work for these companies, and I always call them product pushers. Okay, so whatever company they work for, they have this stock or this thing, and they push you into it. With you, an annuity is an annuity. You have different types of annuities, but the annuity is the annuity, and that's it. Once the money's in, that's it. And it's not like you're not pushing people into something based on what's good for you. You're telling people what's best for them in their situation. It's a big difference.
It is, and it's a percentage of your money. I never tell anybody to put all their money in there. Never put all your eggs in one basket. The same with the market. The problem today is 401ks. So many people have too much money in them. I really believe you should put a percentage based on your age. If you're 50, 50% should be in the market, 50% should be in something that doesn't lose money. Whether that's an annuity or a CD or a money market or whatever it is, it's just better advice for you to do that.
All right, so give Joe a call, and when you call, ask him about that bonus. We don't have time for that today. Maybe next time we'll talk about that bonus.
10% bonus.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, tell him now.
It's a 10% bonus up front on your money. So you put in $100,000, you start with $110,000.
There you
and
go.
And then you get 8.25% interest.
There you go. And your money's not at risk. I mean,
Not at
it's free money, is what it is. I don't know why everybody's not in these. Okay, give him a call. 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999. And if you missed the number, just go to his website, JupiterJoe.com. All right, Joe, we'll see you next time. All right, take care. All right, Steve, I'm going to go back to our phones. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? All right. Yes. Yes.
Jay from Jersey.
Yes, Jay.
Good morning. I've decided to take a different approach with you because you got, some screws loose.
Okay.
Listening to you
You're
this
going to try a
morning,
different approach.
I don't.
You're going to try a different approach. You're going to try to make sense.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to try that too. I know you ain't even got too many screws left, so I ain't going to worry about you. But at the same time, I'm going to try to make a different approach. I can't understand, like this morning, I'm trying to figure out why are you blaming everybody for the things that's going on now? Why do you always push the blame back on situations like you did this morning? Oh, Biden started the war.
Yes.
Obama started the war. Everybody but the man who started literally bombing the other country while we're sitting over here. Why do you think that you could sit around and tell people that they started the war when Putin started his...
It's a good question. That's a good question. And I guess the new tactic is you're not going to call me a racist, because usually you called me a racist 3 times by now. Oh, okay. Okay. All right. The high road. This is the high road. No. You asked why that I say Biden and Obama did this. Because before the military action happened, there was a buildup with Putin, okay? And they asked Biden about it, and Biden said that the United States reaction will depend on how far he goes into Ukraine. which was him giving the green light to go into Ukraine. Biden gave him the green light to go into Ukraine. That's why I say that, since you asked.
Be able to figure out so much stuff. You sit around listening to the news and figure out so much stuff. Why do you can't see?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
To see through stuff to say that when
Notice, Steve, how he just ignored what I said. He said, "Why do you blame Biden?" I told him, and you didn't even mention what Biden said.
I'm explaining to you that that's dumb. You made a dumb statement. Biden was not over there. He did not send the troops out from.
No, Biden said. Hold on. Biden said the American response will depend on how far Putin goes into Russia.
What about the fact that Trump said he could stop the war day one? Putin's paying Trump no attention.
Oh, well, okay.
No attention.
That's true.
He thought he had a pull with the man. He has none.
Well, he said he's lost his mind and gone crazy. He said Putin's lost his mind and gone crazy.
He started, but see, there you go. You just answered your own question. He was crazy when he started this war. Had nothing to do with Biden or.
Well, I'll tell you this: when you're talking about someone having mental instability, at least since you have so much personal experience with it yourself, that's an area that you have some expertise.
With it.
Mm-hmm. So what is your solution?
Oh, I don't have a solution.
Oh, okay.
They doing
A bunch of crazy white men. What does the white part have to? What does the white part have to do with it?
He's just doing it.
Really? What about South Africa?
Well, what about we taking all the white people out of South Africa, ain't we? Behind some stupid, nutty rumor that Trump made up.
Okay. All right.
White man making another stupid move.
Okay. All right. Take care. Oh, my goodness. That's his new tactic, Steve. I know. I do, too. All right. Oh, it's time to check in with William Youngerman for our first look at gold and the precious metals market for today. William Youngerman from the offices of William Youngerman Incorporated in Boca. William Youngerman, how are the metals looking?
Bit of a pullback and a buying opportunity yesterday on abbreviated markets. Actually, the European or the world markets, not our markets. Gold closed down $15.70, closing out the day at $3,341.20. Silver was down 3 cents at $33.42. Platinum lost $6 at $1,087, and palladium was down $3 at $973. This morning we see gold down $49.10 right now at $32.92 from Friday's close. Silver down 58 cents at $32.85 the ounce. Platinum down $11 at $1,076, and palladium down $1 at $970. So the markets are giving us a little bit of a pullback, like be expected.
Yeah, and it's hard for me to consider down when it's $3,292 an ounce. This is the time, guys. William Youngerman opens up at 10 a.m. You can stop in at 150 East Palmetto Park Road in Boca on the first floor of the Bank of America building, just east of US 1 Federal Highway, on the south side of Palmetto Park Road, or give him a call. And remember, you can do all your transactions over the phone and through the mail with William Youngerman. Toll free, 1-800-327-5010. 1-800-327-5010. And online, WilliamYoungerman.com. All right, William Youngerman, we'll talk tomorrow. All right, Steve, I want to talk about the free doorbell camera offer. I do not, I probably shouldn't announce this, I do not live in a gated community, okay? And so, the doorbell camera, it helps a lot with security. You know how I tell you how it helps me with the solicitors? I had a guy come to my house, Steve, yesterday, the same guy 4 times. In fact, the last time he came was 6:45 at night. And he's doing all these. The first time I get the notification on the phone and I can see him, so I know what he's all about. But the first time he comes on, he's like just banging on the door, and who's going to answer that? Like somebody's breaking it. But by the time, and I'm just watching him on my phone, I'm like, this is crazy. You know, what an idiot. And then the last time he came 4 times. Last time was 6:45 at night. And he hasn't been by today yet, because if he would have been by, I would have gotten a notification that he was at my door. But he was trying to trick me. He was doing these knocks like, then he would, one time he came back and he just went, just like that. Just like that. First time he was banging, trying to trick me, you know. But he couldn't trick me because I could see him on the doorbell camera every single time. And I was kind of, my wife and I were kind of laughing at him, watching him out there, thinking we're going to open the door. I don't open the door for anyone. I don't know. Certainly not a salesperson. Get your doorbell camera for free from Slomin's, and you can with the installation of your Slomin Shield. And that camera, by the way, will connect directly to your cell phone. Slomin's, they're also going to give you a free customized home security system and professional installation when you use their low-cost central station monitoring. You're going to get an LED touchscreen, a motion detector, 10 contacts, a lifetime warranty, a backup battery, plus you'll receive a free doorbell camera with the installation of your Slomin Shield. Here's the number, 833-283-5050. 833-283-5050. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Hey, Bill.
Thanks for taking my call. This is a conversation directly with Steve, okay, if you don't mind. Steve, I got to give you kudos, but then I have to take them away. The kudos is for something you said earlier, and that was your co-host here has absolutely, unequivocally no objectivity. That's the kudos for you saying that. That is known throughout the industry, and I can cite examples, but I won't. I have to take that kudo away because the reason is very, very, very obvious, and one I think you personally have knowledge of. And that is, literally, every time your co-host, Brian, opens his mouth, he is auditioning for a job. That now a couple times.
When have I said I'm auditioning for a job?
This is not a conversation with you.
Oh, you can talk about me and I can't respond?
You can talk about me once I finish it.
I'm sorry, I'm interested in what you have to say. Just continue with what you're saying.
I'm taking the kudo away simply because you know of something personally that's a reason for that lack of objectivity. Okay, and it's been announced by Brian several times here in the recent past. And that reason is no. These are facts and evidence that he has put into evidence in the last week and a half. He has evidence 2 of those pieces of evidence that you need. And that is his plan in life. His goal in life is to be a tour guide at Trump's presidential museum.
In my retirement, when I retire.
Yes, no.
That's what I'm auditioning for a volunteer position?
Because you don't want to say anything.
Literally?
He just admitted it.
When I retire, my plan is to be a tour guide at the Trump Presidential Museum in Palm Beach. Yeah, when I'm retired.
And you know that one of you know.
I appreciate
No, you slow calm down, Steve.
Let me get a word in.
I can't hear you.
Because you won't stop talking.
When you stop talking long enough.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
These are the jokes. If you don't get it.
Oh, I'm serious about that.
I mean, if you take everything he says literally, then we got to question.
Steve, are you?
We got to do a reality check with you.
Steve, are you deaf? He admitted it just now.
No, I'm serious. When I'm retired, I want to be a tour guide. Who would be a better tour guide when I'm retired than me?
I give you kudos, Brian. I give you kudos for looking ahead. I don't.
To volunteer jobs, yes.
All right.
Yes.
Do you have anything you want to add to that, sir? I don't want to cut you off.
He said, the guy, Steve, since he won't talk to me, but he said This is known throughout the industry. Who is known? What is known throughout the industry, and who in the industry? And what industry are you talking about?
You lack objectivity. I recently spoke with a guy who's in the upper levels at iHeartRadio.
Yeah.
We're talking about iHeart just in general, and I said, there's a guy that I listen to in the mornings, and he seems to think he has the best talk show ever.
Yes, this is the best show ever.
Yeah, and when every time you say that, Rush Limbaugh spins in his grave. But anyway, the guy...
Rush Limbaugh listened to this show on a regular basis.
Can't prove that.
Yes, this is the best. This is the best show. This is the best. This is the best. Yes, this is the best show, by far.
Speaking with this guy from, I heard he started laughing. He said, "I know who you're going to say. I know him personally. I have met him and talked with him personally."
Oh, so I'm famous. So I have an executive at iHeart who knows me and talks. Yeah.
And I said, well, he several times said that he should have gotten certain programs.
They should have replaced Bongino with me. Yes.
Just laughed. He said, this.
But I want to keep in mind. I want to. Yeah. But I want to keep in mind. I want you to think about what you're saying. You are having a conversation with an. What, do you think you got me here? Are you kidding? You're having a conversation with an executive. You all know who I am. You're talking about me off the air, but I'm a nobody? You're kind of defeating your argument.
I didn't say you were a nobody. We're talking about syndication, okay?
Do you think that let me ask you this. This is such an interesting thing. Let me tell you. Hold on. Slow down for a second. You want to laugh some more? I like the evil laugh. Laugh again. I like the laugh. You like the laugh, Steve?
No, it's at least it's not a cackle like yours.
Yeah, I know. Well, hey, listen. At least you listen to me and not her. This is the thing. I will never. Well, then there's another thing I'm doing right. I've got you hooked on this show. I've got this executive from iHeartRadio who knows me in and out. This is amazing. You know, this is why I don't criticize Trump. This is not a normal presidency. This is a very unique presidency. And it's just as an example, he's a Martin Luther King-like figure. President Trump is a Martin Luther King, George Washington-like figure. He's a civil rights leader. That's what the FBI wanted you to think. No, the reason that started with Martin Luther King, oh, there goes the laugh again, is because they thought, and the rumors were always that he was having affairs with white women. I'm not deflecting. You brought up the philandering. The reason they did that was to try to turn white people away from the civil rights movement. Donald Trump is a greater civil rights leader than even Martin Luther King because he's leading all the American people, no matter their ethnicity or background, to freedom. No, don't divert. Don't divert. We're not talking about King. We're talking about Trump. No, you study. Yeah, and you study me every day from 6 till... If you've been on the air for 10 minutes, do you think you've taken me apart in this call?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about it.
Now I gotta laugh. All you did was prop me up and tell everybody how famous I am, where executives from iHeartRadio are having an off-air conversation. I mean, Steve, I'm being talked about in the boardrooms. I'll tell you what, though, when you talk about me, there's a lot less of me to talk about than there used to be, thanks to Coastal Weight Loss Secret. Steve, I was talking earlier. I'm wearing this shirt. This shirt used to be so tight on me, it was like a girdle. And, I told you my daughter moved back to Florida from California. And I got together with my daughter and a friend of hers. And my daughter and her friends don't listen to me on the program, okay? And it was one of her California friends. And her friend said, "Wow, Brian, you have lost a lot of weight." You know, she said, Emily told me you lost some weight, but you have really lost a lot. And I said, yeah, it's a coastal weight loss secret. And, it's so nice to hear from people. I've even had listeners telling me that they've seen how much weight I've lost because I'm on YouTube and they see what I look. My face was round. I didn't think I needed to lose weight. Can you believe that? I guess because you gain weight at a slow rate, you don't realize it. I look at pictures of me from 5 or 6 months. I saw some pictures of me on Inauguration Day at Wings Plus. I look totally different now. I've lost so much weight since Inauguration Day. It's amazing. My face was round and puffy. If anybody has photographs of me at Wings Plus with Steve on Inauguration Day, please delete those from your phone and come to our next appearance and take new pictures with me. I don't want you showing those pictures to around and saying, this is Brian Craig. Listen, give Coastal Weight Loss Secret a call. When you call, make sure you tell them you heard about them on the True Oldies channel. Now remember, I'm not taking any medications like Ozempic or anything, and I'm doing zero exercise, and I'm eating food I would normally eat. 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. And online, coastalweightlossecret.com. All right, you want to take some more calls, Steve? Okay. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What are you talking? He was at Arlington National Cemetery. He gave a speech. He was there with Hegseth and JD. What are you talking about?
He said nothing in his crazy tweet.
No. He was at Arlington National. Oh my goodness. Catch up on the news and then call. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Brian from Deerfield.
20 seconds.
Oh, hey, Brian. I think that what we're really worried about is we have some mentally unhinged world leaders, Putin, Zelensky, and Macron, who have access to nukes, and the potential for a miscalculation would be the worst thing we could imagine on steroids.
Yes.
We have to say a prayer.
I thought you were going to tell us we had some deranged callers, not world leaders, but...
Callers don't have nukes, you know.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness.
Because Zelensky had told Putin he wasn't going to be around much longer, too. I remember that a couple weeks back.
No, let me tell you. Listen. I'm not kidding. We're on the verge of World War III right now. We are closer to World War III than we've been since the Cuban Missile Crisis. I'm not exaggerating. But you know what? We're out of time. All right, we'll be back tomorrow at 6 a.m. It's the Steve Kane Show. I'm Brian. Steve Kane is here. God bless Donald Trump. See you tomorrow, 6 a.m. All right, guys. If you're new, make sure you subscribe, all right? Thanks for watching, everyone.